Hey, Spencer. Information here. Okay. Slide. Insert picture. This device. Here we go. Got a ping. Hey, Spence. Unmute. Unmute.
Did you get that Barbara Russo?
Yes, I got it. I got her chart.
She's got an interesting conjunction between Vesta and Pluto within a degree. I'd like to know how that has affected her. She's
Yeah.
lucky she's not a prostitute. One of those girls down at the temple you like to see once you toss a little money.
And I also got a birth date for the shooter.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Do you have a chart to show?
Yes, I've got his chart.
Okay.
Yeah, here, let me do a share. I think it's this one. Yeah. Date of birth was September 20th, 2003. Don't have a time, but
Well,
notice,
his son was aligned with activities in Taurus. That's kind of interesting.
yeah, but
Uh,
with his sun is also unaspected, but look at the bottom of his chart, Mars and Uranus.
oh, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's quite a little. You know, this guy was made to be a little bit of a.
Yeah, he was destined for this, it would
Yeah.
seem.
Ah,
Yeah, let's see. Six. This is a noon chart. Um, Moon is slow, so it's not going to move too much. It could go 6 degrees either way,
uh,
um, which means it could be even tighter conjunction with Saturn, or it could be, you know, out of range and unaspected. But um,
well, because could it swing into the 20s of Virgo? Is that this
it
probably?
could swing into the 20s. Yeah. Um, in
Well,
which case it could make,
how about a yacht?
yeah,
Neptune, Saturn, Mercury. That looks pretty yachty to me. Uh,
yes.
and
Yeah, I don't think I have those turned on. Let me turn
so,
those on. Woo! Did all that come from? I don't want all those things in there.
is he going to go watch the?
He wants
Hang on.
the city at 4 o'clock.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a yard there with Neptune at the focus. So we could say he was doing a dream.
Yeah, yeah,
Gonna get his name in lights. Go
yeah,
down forever as the man who shot Trump, President Trump in the ear.
yeah.
He would have
Unfortunately,
had
he
a
won't.
bigger
He,
rep if he could just got it 2 more inches
yeah,
to the left, I guess. There's a guy online, a Trumper, who said he saw the guy setting up and pointed out there like a true patriot, and no one seemed to take his advice.
yeah. I saw that where they were pointing it out to it said telling the police officers about somebody up on the roof. The police were in the area, and apparently they were running around, and so I don't know what the time frame was in terms of when he was spotted and the police were alerted.
Well, you'd think that the presidential men would have caught that. I mean, that should be certainly part of their wanting to be. What do they call those guys? Uh, Not
The Secret Service?
Secret Service. Yeah, Secret Service is and you'd think if it was something that civilians could see,
Hmm.
should be seen by someone whose job it was to watch.
Yeah. It's interesting. We don't know much, and apparently he had some explosive devices in his car
Uh-huh.
that they found there as well. So I don't haven't read too much about that yet. Um, so oh, and by the way, I started the recording already. Just I figured any conversation we have at the beginning is going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
he's
yeah,
uh, Saturn is kicking the shit out of his Chiron. That's another little interesting part here that won't change.
yeah,
I guess he doesn't like authority. That would be my guess. We know it's
yeah,
not necessarily an eighth house Saturn, but it's certainly still wherever Chiron can't go hide from it. There's just,
no,
you can't say, waha, we have a 1229 or a 1015 or a 530 times. Uh, I do think that there's one other thing we could look at here that's kind of interesting, even though it's bygone days, is that his north and south node have the Taurus Scorpio opposition,
yeah,
and it's not that far, and it does. I think it puts. Well, no, we can't believe in the rising sign. I mean, it's nothing but the.
yeah. Unfortunately, however, I don't know. We may not be too far off, but you never know.
You never
Yeah,
know. But still, we have a bunch of stuff that cannot change. You
no,
know, and
no,
Mars is definitely conjunct to Uranus in a strong opposition to Jupiter
yeah,
uh, by the Mars in his chart. That's a 4.5 degree opposition, uh,
yeah,
which puts the tomorrow the transiting Mars will be at 27. Then it'll go on. Transiting Mars is going to go on to actually uh, approach a good, healthy Taurus square Uranus.
Yeah.
And somewhere Alpha, does Uranus goes to 29 or 28 before it retrogrades, doesn't it?
Um, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Um,
Let me get my
yeah. Hi, Rita. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Jim. Hi, guys.
I've started the recording already since.
I noticed that it asked me
Okay.
as soon as I came in, it asked me.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
Barbara got your chart information, so we do have your chart to look at. This is the chart for the shooter. Can you see it? Are you seeing a chart?
I'm seeing a chart. Yes.
Okay, it's the chart of the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, date of birth September 20, 2003.
But what's a
Don't have a
shooter?
birth time.
Oh, the shooter. Of course.
Yeah, but
I was like, you are
what did you
really
shoot?
on top of things.
Yes, the young man who
Yeah.
apparently tried to assassinate Trump.
Yeah. Huh.
Mhm. Ended up killing another man by instead.
And wounding two more.
Yeah,
2003. So he's 21. That's
he's
Haumea.
20. He'll be 21. He would be if he weren't dead. He would be 21 in late September or September 20th. Yeah, you can unmute Barbara. Why don't you unmute?
I'm sorry, I ran away because I turned my air conditioner off. It was too noisy.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Put it on mute so you can hear me now.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay.
What's that?
I'm happy to be here. I'm here. This is the first time I'm here, by
Yeah.
the way.
Well, that's nice. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Barbara?
Yep.
It is.
Hi,
Hi,
Barbara.
how are you, everyone?
Okay, where am I?
Barbara, I looked at your chart.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
wait a
have
minute.
Vesta conjunct Pluto, I think. I gotta get that
I'll
chart.
stop sharing here for a minute. I gotta stop sharing for a minute so I can get back to. Here we go. Got people over here. There we go. More people coming in. There we go. We'll be looking at the shooter's chart in a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, it's going to be an interesting day. Yeah, I already had charts since Barbara, you were the first and only one that's volunteered. But I had already set up charts for both Trump and Biden, and also Kamala, just in case. But then, of course, as things unfolded yesterday, I had to start adding some more charts. So I've got Trump bi-wheel for the time of the shooting, which, as near as I can tell, is 6:15 p.m. I got a
Okay.
couple of the tri-wheels for Trump at that time, which are one with secondary progress and one with solar arc, which is they're also interesting when we start looking at all of our little asteroids and stuff. So uh, should be a good day.
Mhm.
So Barbara, thank you. I'm glad you could join us.
I'm glad I can join you too. It's I've been an astrologer since I was 10 years old and I'm in my 70s.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this a while.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
just a young kid.
Right, right.
How
Good,
did
just
you
somebody.
hear about this group?
How did I hear about this group? I don't remember. I mean, I really don't. I've been meaning to show up at a meeting for a really long time and one thing after another, I didn't, and I'm finally here, but how did I hear about it? I don't know. Maybe through
You're kind of cutting
Meetup,
up.
because I've
There we
met
go.
other things with Meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi where I live does that, so I'm sorry
Okay.
about that. But
Okay.
I moved back to Buffalo last year. I lived in Florida for 25 years. And
Right.
I'm living in a home now. I can hardly walk,
Mm.
but
Buffalo, New York. I used to
Buffalo,
live there.
did you really?
You're in
Yeah,
Buffalo? You're in Buffalo?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
lived in let's see.
I moved back last year because I moved into a kind of like an assisted living home. I can hardly walk. So my
Hmm.
whole family, is here. So I really came back because I needed family.
That's good. It's always good to have family around. Yeah, I lived in Buffalo.
Yeah,
Let's see, I moved
wonderful
there
to have family around.
end of February 1977, left September of 86. Was working
Buffalo?
there.
You were
Yeah, I
working,
lived up. I worked for the United States government for Department of Veterans Affairs for 40 years.
okay.
I didn't know you worked in Buffalo.
Yeah,
All this time, I didn't know you worked from Buffalo.
yeah. I worked there for 9.5 years.
That's, yeah, 10 years
And
almost.
both my daughters were born in Buffalo.
Oh,
We lived up
really?
on Duane Terrace.
Where did you live?
Duane Terrace. It's a little short street up kind of in the north part of Buffalo. Trying to remember the big cross street.
It was in North Buffalo?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I grew up on the west side.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm in East Amherst,
Oh, okay.
Williamsville.
Yeah. My geography memory of Buffalo isn't too good anymore. Don't remember all the names of the streets and stuff. But yeah. Well, that's nice. You'll appreciate the occasional whiteout.
For my astro cartography, the best place for me to live would be in San Diego.
Well, yeah, it's the best place for a lot of people to live.
Have we ever done that, Jim? The best places for
Not
people
really.
to live? Not really.
No,
You see how
I
he
do a little bit of
dismisses
it.
it? He just dismisses it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It astrocartography can get pretty involved when you're trying to figure out where the best place to live is because you have to look at what you were looking for.
Mm.
It's not easy to find a place you probably can't find a place that's going to meet all of your desires or requirements. So you have to pick something over something else sometimes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's people like you can't put me anywhere where there's no water because there's no water in my chart and I go crazy.
Oh.
So I have to live by an ocean, not right on the ocean. Actually, I'd probably do better living on a lake. I'm from New York too, but not upper New York. I'm from Long Island. I was surrounded by water.
Yeah, I just left Delray Beach. I was there for 25 years.
The reason I say that is I'm thinking of, oh, who's that artist? Oh, she's famous. She painted all the desert scenes.
Oh.
She painted she painted the dead cows. She painted the flowers that look like vaginas, and she said they didn't. Who is that artist?
Okay.
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Thank you. Georgia O'Keeffe was trained in the Hudson River Valley School, and she hated it there. She hated living there. And
Wow.
as soon as she got to the desert, she was a happy little camper.
Yeah.
And I'd be the opposite.
Yeah. Well, I lived
So
in
that's what
Florida.
I mentioned. There's certain things like
Yes.
there's no water in my chart, so you've got to put water near me someplace.
Well, that's one way
Yeah.
people with no missing an element can compensate. I'm the opposite. I have no water either, but I don't need to be by water because I didn't grow up by water.
I
I
have
don't
no
like it.
water and I've always been by water. Either a
Yeah.
river or a lake or the ocean itself.
Let's
I was a
see.
scuba diver for 40 years.
Mm,
Yeah.
Lily,
That's
Angie,
right.
are you there?
It's one of my great
I'm here.
regrets.
Yes.
Yep, I'm here,
There you go.
Jim.
Unmutes.
Yep.
There you go. Hi,
Hey, how are you?
we're
Long
good.
time no see.
Angie
Yeah,
M. You have a
Mhm.
nice
there
flower
she
there,
is.
Angie M.
Oh, thank you.
We
That's
have
my
a
violet.
we have a we have a talking violet. Oh, here comes some more folks. Oh God.
as long as we don't
Okay.
have a shrinking violet.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Connie.
Hi, Connie. I don't have the time. Oh my gosh, look at the time. We got to get started pretty quick here, but still should be some other people showing up, but we'll see. Um, right. So I'm gonna well, let's see. Okay, we're already recording, so that's good. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and just get us started here because we do have quite a bit to talk about and stuff we can talk about before we get into too much into the charts. Um, let's see, Connie, we got you on here twice, or do we?
Yeah, we
Get in.
do.
I couldn't get in at all first. Now you say I'm in twice.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
We've got one of you live and we've got one of you with the picture.
Okay. Well, you can remove the one with the picture. I'm trying to do it myself, but
Well, here we go. This one. Hang on. I
okay.
should be able to. Let's see if I can get rid of you. And remove. And hopefully you'll still be there.
Okay, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I
There we
don't
go.
know why I always have trouble logging in.
It's the modern technology. Okay. So since we're all here, let's see, am I ready for you? Yes, we're ready. Okay, here we go. I'm going into share screen mode now.
Oh, James, I
Yes.
just wanted to say before ahead of time that I can only stay for about an hour today.
Okay.
All
We'll
right.
move. We'll move quickly,
Mm.
semi-quickly anyway. Okay. Uh, all right. So you're seeing our usual slideshow to begin with here.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. Here we go. Starting the show. Here we go. All right. So, well, originally we're going to talk about the missing ladies, but we've got a little more to, and we're still going to talk about it. But now we have some other events that are going to play into all of this. Um, so, I think this is Barbara's first time. Um, so welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
Welcome, Connie and Lily. Welcome, the returnees. So we can skip all this. All right. So the biggie, of course, was the attempted assassination, apparently, of Donald Trump yesterday. Which, the young man that the assassin, uh, I did just before about less than an hour ago, found a birth date for him. Uh, so I have his chart without a birth time. Okay, it appears, the record would indicate that the shooting occurred around 6:15 p.m. And so this is a chart for Donald Trump on the inside and the shooting on the outside. Uh, I think one thing that jumps out at me is the um, Mars Uranus conjunction, and it will be exact tomorrow. in square to Donald's Mars in his 12th house.
And they're also conjunct Algol, right?
Yes.
Yes. conjunct Algol.
Zodiacally conjunct Algol, yes.
Yeah.
By degree, but not, yeah. And in which, when you start dealing with fixed stars, gets into a whole nother world. But yes, by zodiac degree, yes, they are conjunct Algol. Let's see, what else do we see? We have, well, the transiting moon is opposing transiting Chiron, and they're squaring his Saturn and Venus in Cancer. It's an interesting T square from 2 to 8 to 11.
Hmm.
Okay, we're not going to spend too much time here because we'll be getting back to this after we talk about the ladies a little bit. All right, so, and what's this? Okay, here's the chart of the shooter. Thomas Matthew Crooks, born September 30, 2003. Don't have a birth time, so houses and angles are who knows what. Spencer and I were talking about this earlier, and one thing I noticed is that his sun is unaspected. This is just using the 10 planets. But notice at the bottom of his chart, he has a Mars-Uranus conjunction.
What else? His Mars has only hard aspects. There's no relief. And he's got the Yod, which is all. What is his Neptune? Neptune.
Yeah, there's a Yod from Neptune to Saturn. But it's an inconjunct from Neptune to Saturn, or quincunx,
Yeah.
whatever you prefer. And quincunx from
Mercury.
Neptune to Mercury, which is sextiling Saturn. So you've got the Yod there. I just don't have the quincunx turned on. This chart is based on the 10 planets and the 5 Ptolemaic aspects. Slide you guys over here. Go down there then. He has only one planet in fire, and that is Pluto in Sagittarius. Otherwise, his elements are balanced. He does have half his planets are mutable. 3 cardinal, 2 fixed, 5 mutable. Moon is out of bounds north. And he has 3 retrograde planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Mars are at the bottom.
Yeah, we're not showing the nodes here, I guess, right?
No, not in this chart, but we'll get to those. Okay. I don't want to. Pardon? Okay, we're going to move on to what's coming up. Okay, the calendar of upcoming events. Okay, tomorrow is the exact Mars-Uranus conjunction at 26 Taurus 19. Also conjunct the fixed star Algol, as Connie mentioned, which is at 26 Taurus 30. And the Republican National Convention begins in Milwaukee. Now, they're actually scheduled stuff going on today, which I assume is probably still going on. On the 16th, Mercury will enter their shadow. On the 17th, moon wobble may end, but it looks like it did have a little last piece of chaos for us with the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The 18th could be a mixed bag kind of day, interesting, could be an emotional day, could feel uh, irritating, day of anxiety. Kind of hard to say how it's going to go, as there will be three major aspects, and then in the evening there will be three quincunx aspects. On the 20th, Mars will go void of course and then enter Gemini. On the 21st, we have the full buck moon, 29 Capricorn at 9, which is the second or blue full moon in Capricorn. It's one of 8 aspects that day.
Hmm.
On the 22nd, the sun will oppose retrograde Pluto. Gee, I forgot to mention that retrograde Saturn will finally leave 19 Pisces. Forgot to include the sun moving from Cancer to Leo. But, on the 23rd, Mercury will go void of course. On the 25th, they will enter Virgo, the sign of their retrograde. I got to fix the spelling there. Chiron stations retrograde on the 26th. On the 31st, the moon waxing quincunx retrograde Pluto will be the last exact aspect of July. And the first aspect for August will be moon waning sextile shadow Mercury. August 2nd, Venus waxing crisis of action square Uranus. Then Venus will go void of course. On the 4th, we have new moon at 12 Leo 34. Venus enters Virgo, and Mercury at 4 Virgo 6 stations retrograde. So the August 4th will be a busy day. It seems like August should be way off in the future somewhere, but it isn't. August 5th, another day with 3 exact major and 3 quincunx aspects. August 7th, retrograde Mercury will be conjunct / opposite Venus. Keep in mind that when one of the two, Mercury and Venus, when one is retrograde and the other is direct, when they're conjunct, that they're actually on opposite sides of the sun. So in some ways, it can have more of an opposition type of energy than a conjunction energy. On the 9th, the sun will make a waxing quincunx to retrograde Saturn. Quincunx is an interesting aspect, not just because of its nature, but because while the moon will make 2 quincunxes to each planet every month, the other planets, because they all move much more slowly, may only make one of each every year. Looking at the sun, Mercury, and Venus. And then if you look at Mars, it's it's a even longer cycle. They might make a quincunx to the planets outside of them, beyond them, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on, maybe twice a year, once a year or twice every 2 years, basically. And then to wrap things up on August 11th, the moon will make a waxing sextile to Venus, and then we will have our Santa Monica Astrology Meetup. And another typo. Oh my, such a Virgo I am. We're talking about the national conventions. The Republican convention will be all over, and the Democratic convention will be starting about a week after our meeting. So that'll give us some things to talk about.
And what?
And obviously
what
there
do
are
you
the
have
other
on
things.
8/11, you have the national conventions with an A after it. What do you mean by that?
The A is a typo.
Oh, and I, okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying
Yeah.
the national convention is wrapping up? Is that what you're saying? The Republican?
No, we're going to talk about them because the
Oh, we're
Republican
going to talk
convention
about
will
them.
be
Okay.
over,
Gotcha. Sorry.
and the Democratic convention will be
Right.
coming up.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions about any of this other stuff other than my typos? Okay. All right, asteroids. Let's talk about that. We're going to talk about this stuff so that we can then look at charts with this stuff in them. Okay. So in the beginning, all was dark. There were just the 7 visible planets and the fixed stars, and that's what the ancient astronomers, astrologers used. With the invention of the telescope, it was discovered that both Jupiter and Saturn also have moons. Then there was the discovery of Uranus, March 13th, 1787. And on January 1st, 1801, a new planet was discovered by Giuseppe Piazzi. And on March 28th, 1802, another planet was discovered. And this was followed by several more. So by the 1850s, because of these other bodies that were being discovered, the astronomers got together and they decided these new objects orbiting basically between Mars and Jupiter needed a different name. They couldn't all be planets. It'd be just too many of them. And William Herschel suggested they be called asteroids, which is from the Greek for star-like or star-shaped. Well, today there are roughly 1 million identified asteroids.
1 million?
A million.
Wow.
Most of
They
which
must
are in
be
the asteroid belt
big,
between
huh?
Mars and Jupiter. Most of them just have numbers. They don't have names. There's about 25,000 with names. And there are over 34,000 near-Earth asteroids, known as NEAs. Near-Earth asteroids meaning basically that they are orbiting between Earth and Mars, rather than Mars and Jupiter, or in some cases, maybe between Earth and Venus even, including 3753 Lusne, sometimes referred to as Earth's second moon. It's a little rock, but it's basically, it's not in Earth's orbit, but its orbit is basically the same in terms of length as the Earth. So every once in a while, the timing works where it's close to us. Now, in between, of course, well, we're not going to talk about the centaurs are those objects that orbit beyond Saturn, between Saturn and Uranus. So
Yeah.
they're, for another time and place.
Hey, can I ask a question here? Because this represented a whole new idea. I never, I understand the theme that we need more feminine energy in the zodiac, but I never really understood who chose that Ceres had to be this one and Vesta had to be that one.
Oh.
When we really didn't have even a smidgen of a concept of what they were as in terms of meaning and what they were kind of like we've been looking at Jupiter and Saturn and Venus and Mercury thousands of years, but these guys just popped up, and I never I think even I don't even think it's discussed in Asteroid Goddess, at least not to my recollection. Do
Yeah.
you have any information on that, Jim?
Well, yeah, the people, the old white guys, basically, who were naming these new objects, were picking names because of the planets were named after Greek and Roman gods and goddesses. They were just picking names of, Greek, in this case, goddesses from the Greek and Romans. They just decided they would name them after after females. And that went on for a little while, and then now they are, there are male asteroids with male names and so on because they started to run out of female names, I think, in terms of the gods and goddesses. And now, I mean, there's asteroids that have, just normal names.
Yeah, well, you can even name one after yourself or your girlfriend. But
Yeah,
here's my problem
you,
with all of this. It's like
yeah.
it's like
Currently, there's the International Astronomical Union, I think it's called, that is now responsible for determining the names of the objects. They're also the ones now that are determining the classification. So they were the ones that made the determination that to create the classification of dwarf planets. So there is a formal group now that has this authority, if you would.
Yeah, but you know, like when you when you read the way that Liz Green took apart the whole way when we look at Chiron, and she got on the concept that we really didn't know a lot about it. They had this name. Uh, it kind of interests me in a way how they were named, and then one of the people that I was studying when we got ready for this thing on them, a Roman author who was quoted in this book saying, uh, all our all the people that we have in our zodiac are women. Why don't you get some from the north? Those Viking women are so different and they're so fit, you know, they're so fit and they do all these things. And the question was, why do we assume that the fact that we're tacking on a name to an object in the sky is going to suddenly be the goddess of nurturing and the problem of how we deal with relationships in terms of the mother-daughter and then also the mystery that was a part of the different kinds of things Demeter's thing. I mean, I have found that some of them seem very interesting to me, but some of them seem kind of, I don't understand some of them. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, I think the way it evolved was the astronomers determined the name,
yeah,
and that was probably, yeah, it was somewhat random, but with some intent, obviously, that they named, you know, the first asteroid discovered was named Ceres. Um, and then the astrologers started assigning the qualities to these bodies. And it's a matter of, yeah, the does the asteroid or now dwarf planet Ceres,
Mhm.
did she take on these qualities or did she come with these qualities? Um, and it seems to be somewhat almost happenstance or act by accident, but at the same time, almost as if it was meant to be, fated in some ways.
Well, here's one of the questions that I encountered when I was talking about Vesta. It seems to me that like these old guys of the middle of the 19th century, which was part of the Victorian age, uh, kind of repressed for Vesta, you know, because when you look at what Vesta is really also a product of by this repression of the 19th century, is if you go back to the goddess Inanna and look at the way that she runs things in her temple, it's much more much different and not as sexually repressed and more communicated with a lot of other problems in the community, whereas we're you know, and I think that this was dealt somewhat, but this is just one of the issues that I have when you look at the way that we assumed, and the thing of it is, you know, we hope it was fated because we're certainly talking a lot about the asteroid, how it got its name, and then magically it has a meaning. Uh, I I really question that. I go along with it because I find that some of it is interesting, but like with Vesta, I definitely stretch Inanna into that, which changes a lot of the ways. Although the similarity is that there is this thing about fire, the keeper of the fire, uh, that both seem to have, and I like that symbol. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but it's just an issue I wanted to kind of introduce to our group.
Yeah, it is interesting because and I think it's something that as astrologers we need to keep in mind is the naming process and the discovery point in trying to determine how this new object that we might want to bring into our charts might play out. And I always say don't just accept what astrologer Andrew or Amy or whoever wrote as being the gospel and the first and only word on it. You need to really do your own research in terms of what's the history, what's the mythology of the person involved, and work from that in order to kind of get a better understanding of how all of this might play out. Okay, so let's look at some asteroids. Okay, so the first one discovered was Ceres, was named number one, and they gave it the name of Ceres. It was discovered January 1st of 1801. It's now elevated to a dwarf planet because of its size. Its orbit is about 4.6 years. It's a Roman goddess of agriculture, grain, crops, fertility, and motherly relationships. In astrology, generally we look at Ceres for nurturing motherly love and our relationship with food and a whole lot of other stuff. We could probably come up with a long laundry list of things. What's interesting is Ceres is Roman. Her Greek counterpart is Demeter or Demeter, which was discovered May 31st, 1929. Asteroids are given at the time, the asteroids are given numbers and then names. And so this is asteroid 1108. It was the 1108th asteroid identified. Her orbit is a little bit less than Ceres, 3.78 years. She is the Greek goddess of agriculture, fertility, the harvest, sacred law, and rites. Also, the Eleusinian mysteries, death, and the underworld. She's the mother of Persephone, abducted by Pluto. In astrology, nurturing parent-child bond, nutrition, diet, and food in general. So, what you may want to do is look at the placement of both of them in your chart and see how they play out. Which one might better exemplify the characteristics that they're assigned to. The second asteroid discovered was named Pallas, or Pallas Athena, or Athene, which is Greek. She was discovered March 28th, 1802. Now, interestingly enough, then subsequently, asteroid 881 was named Athene. So you have this Pallas and you have Athene. They're two separate bodies. Pallas's orbit is 4.611 years. Her orbit is highly eccentric, meaning it's more elliptical than circular, and it's got more of an inclination to the plane of the zodiac than normal. So she could go out of bounds more often and spend longer time. She's the Greek goddess of wisdom, crafts, and war. Now, in addition, Anya is also the Greek goddess of war. And what happens in mythology is when you have a long mythology, a long history, such as the Greeks have, there are different records from different historians that talk about these different gods and goddesses, and that they give different stories about either the origins or their life stories or whatever. In astrology, Pallas represents our voice of reason, how we get along with the opposite sex, our cool-headed intellect, artistic, and creative ability. But as a goddess of crafts and war, they don't quite seem to go together, but you know, crafts is the creating of things. Some of those crafts are things you need to wage war. She wasn't the one that went out to war. She was more about the study of the war. On the Roman side, there are two goddesses that might have fit into this category. Number 90, asteroid 93, Minerva, was discovered August 24th of 1867, and also asteroid 28, Bellona, discovered March 1st, 1854. Bellona was one I'd never heard of. Their orbits are not that dissimilar, a little over 4.5 years. Minerva is a Roman goddess of wisdom, justice, law, arts, trade, strategy, and the strategy of warfare. Bellona is the Roman goddess of war, consort of Mars, sometimes referred to as his sister or his wife, or both, because it wasn't unusual for the gods to marry their sisters or brothers. The astrology, Minerva, is where people turn to you for advice, your knowledge, or insights, kind of like the life coach or counselor. Bellona is where you might overreact or strike out at others. So, yeah, again, if you want, if you're interested, pop them into your chart and see what you can find. And you should be able to find all of these in astro.com, if not SolarFire, whatever other software you might be using.
Also investigate how Athena was in the both of the epics of Odysseus, and the other one was the Troy. What was the other one? Was called?
The Iliad?
Iliad in the
Yeah.
Odyssey. Yeah,
Yeah.
she took care of several people, but basically Odysseus got a lot of help, intellectual help, basically, but it was still a lot of help.
Yeah, she featured prominently in Greek mythology.
Coming out of her father's head.
Yeah,
Who could think
yeah,
that?
they had some very interesting ideas about how the gods came to be. Okay. Oops. We're going backwards. Stop it. Okay, here we go. The third asteroid discovered was named Juno. It was discovered September 1st, 1804. Orbit is about 4.25 years. Patron goddess of Rome, of love, marriage, fertility. She's the sister and wife of Jupiter. It's a very complex theology and mythology within the Roman world. Astrology, it's about loyalty, equality, commitment, but also betrayal and revenge. Her Greek counterpart is Hera. That was the 103rd asteroid discovered September 7th of 1868. Orbit a little bit longer than Juno's, 4.44 years. Greek goddess of marriage, women, family, protector of women during childbirth. Sister and wife of Zeus, who is the Greek counterpart of Jupiter. She's jealous and vengeful, dealing with anyone who offends her. In astrology, ancestral connections, family history, the unconscious patterns, inherited wounds, where you can break free from them. The fourth one discovered was Vesta, which is why these four particular asteroids, Ceres, Pallas, Juno, and Vesta, are the four primaries that you will find in just about all astrology programs because they were the first four discovered. Vesta being March 29th, 1807, orbit 3.63 years. She's the Roman virgin goddess of the hearth and home, the Vestal Virgins, and they were sworn to a lifetime, basically, or at least during their service, and they were sworn to chastity. Astrology, how you care for your home, self-sacrifice, celibacy, the feminine purpose. Her Greek counterpart is Hestia, the 46th asteroid discovered August 16th, 1857, orbit just over 4 Earth years. She's the Greek virgin goddess of the sacrificial fire, hearth, home, household, and domestic life. In astrology, it's where your heart lies, where you feel at home, who you value as friends. Yeah, take a look at where she falls in your chart. All right. So those are 4 asteroids we're going to look at. Obviously, there's over 24,000, almost 25,000 with names now. I would encourage you, if you're going to look into asteroids, look to see if there's an asteroid that has your name. And if you find one that's has your exact name or close enough that you want to check it out, then put it in your chart and see where it falls, because yeah, there's magic in names. What can I say? So jumping forward now, in 1977, that's when Chiron was discovered, and then since then they found other bodies orbiting between Saturn and Uranus, and they were identified as centaurs. For some reason, we only talk about Chiron, and yeah, he's a little piece of space junk that we don't really know for sure what he is. Some think of him as an asteroid that just happened to get out too far. Others consider him as maybe a comet that got captured in orbit. So, but in 1992, they discovered a new object out in the realms of Pluto, given the number 15760 initially, and subsequently eventually named Albion. And then they started finding more bodies out there beyond the orbit of Neptune, in that realm where Pluto is. And so the talks began with a need for a clear definition of what a planet is, and a new classification for these smaller bodies in the outer reaches of the solar system. That is, those orbiting in a 3-2 resonance with Neptune, such as Pluto. They were called Plutinos. Basically, for each 2 revolutions or of Pluto around the sun, Neptune will make 3. And so Albion is one of those bodies that falls into that category. He's very small. He's smaller than Pluto's moon, actually.
What is Albion as a myth? I never.
Albion, comes out of British myth of, I think, Arthur and Lady of the Lake and the like, I think. So yeah, that's the interesting thing is, see, now they're starting, because there's so many, they've expanded beyond the Greek and the Roman. They're bringing in other gods and goddesses from other ethnic backgrounds or other cultures. And in August 2006, the International Astronomical Union created the new identification of dwarf planet. So the asteroid Ceres was elevated to, and planet Pluto were both reclassified. So Pluto was kind of downgraded in that sense. But anybody who's had any experience with Pluto knows that, he may be small, but he's mighty. And part of that may be because of his companion moon. Pluto actually has 5 moons, which is interesting since we only have one clearly identified one. Ours is bigger. And so there's some other in addition to the ones that we're going to talk about, there are some other possible dwarf planets that we're not going to talk about today, but these orbit, now we're getting beyond the orbit of Pluto into what's called the Kuiper Belt. And some of these will have extremely long orbital periods. Poior, Orcus, Salacia, Varda, Ixion, Varuna, Chaos, Huya, and then one that's unpronounceable to me, which comes from the Namibian mythology. It's object 229762. So there's more coming, folks. So, you might want to use pencil instead of ink.
I have another question. I know you can answer.
Yes.
But they have one which represents an Eskimo girl, I think, and
Oh, yes, Sedna.
she gets into the water, tries to get back on a boat, and her father chops her fingers.
Yes, we're getting to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sedna's coming up. All right. So here's some of the trans-Neptunians or dwarf planets. Eris. Eris is one that's started to be used more. Comes from the Greek. First identified, she was given a tentative name of Xena from Xena the Warrior Princess. She was discovered January 5th, 2005. Her orbit is just over 559 years, which is more than twice that of Pluto's. She has a moon named Dysnomia. Eris is the Greek goddess of strife and discord. She is said to have started the Trojan War. She's also the basis for the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty. And there are said to be two types of strife, one which causes conflict, war, and anger, and one which breeds jealousy and greed. Basic story goes, there was a party. Eris, being wild and crazy girl, wasn't invited. She shows up anyway. And so she throws a golden apple into the mix of things and says, this is for the most beautiful goddess here. And so there was, Athena and a couple of others, and their names are escaping me right now, started arguing over who the apple should go to. And so then Eris said, oh, Paris, why don't you decide? And so then the goddesses all started making, trying to bribe Paris with different things. And ultimately, the one that won offered him the most beautiful woman in the world as his bride. And so he chose her, and I think it was Athena or Athene. Yeah. And so then Paris took Helen, wife of the king of Sparta or someplace in Greece, and thus started the Trojan War. Now, the Sleeping Beauty, if you remember Sleeping Beauty, one of the fairies wasn't in, her invitation got lost or whatever, and she didn't get invited, and she shows up anyway, and she puts a curse that on her 16th birthday, the princess will prick her finger and die. Well, the other fairies couldn't undo the curse, but they could modify it so that instead of dying, she simply fell into a sleep until handsome Prince Charming comes along and wakens her with the kiss. True love's kiss. Now, the Roman equivalent to Eris is Discordia. There is no astronomical body currently identified as Discordia. So she's a Roman goddess of chaos and strife, disruptive force that can unsettle order and harmony in one's life or the world around them, breakdown of social cohesion. So for now, you have to, it's the same as Eris and her daughter, Dysnomia. So then some of the others that we're going to look at, there's three others: Sedna, Haumea, and Makemake. These come from different cultures, so there is no Greek Roman equivalent to really compare them to. Sedna, discovered November 14th, 2003, and she has no known moons, and there's no other astronomical equivalent for her at this time. Her orbit is 11,390 years, which is a little bit long. She's the Inuit goddess of the sea and marine mammals, ruler of the Inuit underworld, ad libum. Most myths have a common theme. That is, she was betrayed by her father, who then sacrifices her to the sea in his attempt to escape. First story I read was one where she was fairest Inuit maiden in the village, but none of the local men were really turning her, catching her fancy. And then this handsome hunter shows up from a neighboring village, he claims. And so he woos and wins her with her father's permission. And so then he takes her off to his home, which turns out to be a rocky island, and he's not really who he claims to be. He's actually some sort of a bird person or a shapeshifter. She's most unhappy, cries for her father to come and rescue her and save her from this fate. So daddy, being good daddy is, rows over to the island to rescue her, gets her, and they start going back, taking her back home, when the irate husband causes a storm at sea, and for fear of the boat being swamped and sinking and him drowning, daddy throws her over the side. Says, "Oh, sorry, dear, you'll have to fend for yourself." She clings to the side of the boat trying to save herself, and he then basically whacks off her fingers so she can't hold on, throws the fingers into the water, and so as she sinks to the bottom, the fingers then become the various sea mammals, seals and otters and the like. Not a good beginning. In astrology, she deals with issues of isolation, betrayal, separation, abandonment, but also compassion, spirituality, transcendence, because she transcended from being just a human to being a more immortal spiritual creature. And because of the long orbit, probably has more of a global or mundane effect rather than an individual effect. You're looking at an object that would spend up to 1,000 years in a sign, so that's well beyond a lifetime. Then we have Haumea. Haumea was discovered March 7th of 2003. Interestingly enough, Haumea has two moons, Hiaka and Namaka. Now, there is also no other astronomical equivalent for her. She was initially called Santa because the initial plate that they took, that they found her on, was shortly after Christmas. But it wasn't until March that they were confirmed that she was something new and different. Her orbit a little bit longer than Pluto's, 283 years. She's the Hawaiian goddess of fertility and childbirth, mother of Pele and other deities and of humans. Her moons are named after her daughters. Hiaka, born from her mouth, and Namaka, born from her body. In astrology, she's about rebirth, renewal, revolution, radical change. It relates to personal development and the strength to endure. And if you start exploring and reading, you'll probably find other things because,
Okay.
these new objects, because they're fairly new, I think are still evolving in terms of what might they represent. Okay. Then we have Makemake. discovered March 31st, 2005.
Hold on.
Makemake is
No,
masculine.
no. No,
What's going on?
no, please. Please, honey.
They're getting ready for the pizza, they get setting it up like the omelet station.
Barbara, mute yourself, please. Makemake has one as of yet
Alright.
unnamed moon,
All right,
Uh,
let me shut this so they don't.
but was initially
cut the
called the
sound
Easter
off
Bunny.
on my side.
His orbit
But I
is
realize
just
there's
over
a
306 years,
astrology lecture.
and he is the Rapa Nui fertility god and creator of humanity,
Come in, please.
chief god of the Birdman sect. Rapa Nui is Easter Island. His principal companion was the god Haua, creator, collector, and protector of eggs. Astrology, Makemake relates to personal development, breaking new ground, resilience, adaptability, to push one beyond their comfort zone, involvement with conservation. Here's the symbol. Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta, but there's Eris, Sedna, Haumea, Makemake, a couple others that I threw on here. There's the asteroid Lilith, and then the black moon, which is also called Lilith. I was going to include them in charts, and they may actually be in some of the charts, but they were getting a little crowded. Okay, here we go. Now, catching up to life. So here's the information that popped up, and I must give credit to where credit is due to Copilot, Microsoft's artificial intelligence. The assassin who killed one and wounded Trump, injured two or three others. Apparently there's a couple that are still in critical condition. I'm not sure what the status of them is. Thomas Matthew Crooks, this is his VOTUS status record from the state of Pennsylvania. And according to this, his date of birth is September 20th, 2003, registered Republican. Now, apparently when he was 17, he may have made a $15 donation to a Democratic Action Committee of some sort. All right. We had one
I have
volunteer.
a comment to make.
Hey, Mike.
On Twitter, they noted that the guy he joined Act Blue, which
Yes.
allows Democrats to register as Republicans in Pennsylvania so that they could vote for Nikki Haley. That would be a move by someone who totally hates Donald Trump. You know, you go to the other side where you can legally vote for a Republican candidate just to vote for Nikki Haley to try to keep Trump from winning. So I would say that the guy, I think he's a blue leftist, and he's totally hates Donald Trump. So yeah, a lot of people are saying he's a registered Republican, but like if you peel back the layer,
Yes.
Act Blue, you know what I'm saying?
That came from where?
Twitter.
Okay.
X.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's a distinct possibility. I mean, if it's accurate. Yeah. Because yes, in some states, in order to, you can only vote in a primary for the party that you're registered with. Some states allow you to vote either way. Or they don't
I'm
have a
looking at the
party
form right
affiliation.
here. Thomas Crooks, he filled out the Act Blue form,
Yes.
not employed. So I would presume that is a fact. So he joined.
Well, yes, it's a fact that he did make a donation through Act Blue for a Democratic PAC of some kind, or organization, cause of some sort. Yes, that's true. And it's also true, but it's also true that he registered it in Pennsylvania as a Republican. So yes, to the idea that maybe he did it so he could vote against Trump could be valid, but it may also be conjecture.
Right.
We don't know yet.
Be careful what you read on Twitter.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, the two facts are accurate. Where And I
More
wonder
will
if,
probably be revealed in, as time goes.
yeah, they're still trying to figure out what's going on with him. And I don't know what kind of information they may have obtained from his father, who's not, his father uh, wasn't speaking with any news organization until after he spoke with the authorities. And so I'm sure they've spent a number of hours with him. They've gone through the Thomas's room, looked at his stuff. They found apparently some explosive devices or parts to explosive devices in his car at the where he had left it. Yeah, whatever it turns out, obviously a rather troubled young man, to say the least. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see how this all does shake out. Okay, so before we get into that, we have one volunteer. Barbara volunteered her chart. So here is Barbara's chart with these 8 points plus Algol that we talked about. Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta, Eris, Sedna, Haumea, and Makemake. Barbara, are you there?
Jim, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So are we doing like a sample chart, which is Barbara, to refer to these new planets that you just talked about? Or are we also talking about the guy the assassin? I mean, you kind of went back and forth, and I'm not sure what we're concentrating on.
Well, right now we're concentrating on Barbara's chart and the asteroids and dwarf planets that we're going to talk about today, because Barbara volunteered her chart. Then we'll get into the other stuff. We'll get into the shooter, into Trump, into Biden, and so on.
I don't know why he came up just a few minutes ago, but okay, go ahead.
He came up just so people would know that where we're at. Okay, but I'm waiting. Barbara,
Whoops, we lose
is
her.
Barbara with us? No, she's not. Okay, we'll come back to Barbara.
She went on the phone for some reason.
Yeah. Right. So here we have President Trump and the inside, and on the outer wheel is the transits as of 6:15 p.m. yesterday, when the first shots apparently were fired. This is without Algol. But if you're wondering where Algol is, Algol's sitting up there at 26 Taurus 30. Zodiacally. I say that because the problem you run into in dealing with fixed stars is that most of them are not along the ecliptic. If they're along the ecliptic, then it works when you're looking at the degrees of the zodiac. But when you go off the ecliptic and you get too far, you get farther north or south, then the world kind of changes, and that's not really how the fixed stars work. You look at them as whether they were rising, what was going on, the point of visibility of the star at a given time when a planet rises or sets. So it's kind of like, it's like saying the planets on, for a conjunction, they would both be on the same angle or rising at the same time, i.e., you see the planet rising and you also see the star rising. And a star, because of the curvature of the Earth and everything, the star that's rising when, for example, Saturn, let's see what we got here, Mercury at 17, Leo, when it was rising, the star that was rising at the same time could be nowhere near 17 Leo, but also be rising at the same time, visible farther north or south. They're called parens, and it's a whole different, it gets kind of, when you grasp the concept, it's not as confusing as it sounds, but it's how the ancients worked with fixed stars, and it's really best way to work with them. Okay, but that aside, yeah, the first thing that jumped out at me was the fact that we have Uranus Mars conjunction in Taurus squaring Donald Trump's Mars in Leo. And then when you start to look at other stuff, other things start to show up. Anybody want to pop in here with something?
The trouble with me is that we have all of these asteroids, and I kind of lose a focus.
Yeah.
I wish we would just do with the top 4 or something so we could take it one group at a time. It's like in hockey when you change teams. But the one, what's that one in Mars at 22? Well, that's a natal.
What are you looking at? Oh, you mean over at 22 Aries? That's the one you're talking about, Spencer?
Uh, what is the name of this one in Donald Trump's chart at 22 Aries?
That's Sedna.
Yeah, Sedna? Well,
That is Sedna, the Inuit goddess.
yeah, well, there was one, I don't know where it is now because there's just too many of them, but we had one lady come up with some concept that this one was always very significant one, and we looked it up and found out it was, and I can't find it. But I will say that we have Athena trining this whole stuff in. Well, you have to go with a pretty friendly orb. But at least Athena is in Scorpio. Now let's see what that does, because I like to work with her a lot. Well, I can't really. Where are the Scorpio Taurus things? Well, it's a quincunx to the Uranus.
You see that this is one of the problems when you start adding other bodies to your chart. All of a sudden, it can get very busy, which is why I had charts that showed the also the asteroid, the Roman or Greek equivalents of the 4 asteroids, and that got kind of busy, so I took them out, and I took Lilith and Black Moon out. One thing that comes to mind as I'm looking at this, so Sedna at 22 Aries is squaring his natal Saturn at 23 Cancer. Saturn is, of course, the staid, true. We think of him as being a bit more stuffy, old worldly, toe the line kind of character. Perhaps not unlike Sedna's father, who's sacrificed her to try to save himself. And yeah, Trump has a long established reputation of being a misogynist. Lothario thinks of himself as quite the ladies' man. And it said some pretty weird things at times regarding his own daughter. But at any rate, I think that square might explain some of the things that he does and has said from that perspective, the perspective of the relationship of male and female. And it's, it's within probably range of square to Venus at 25 Cancer. And maybe the Venus-Saturn conjunction that he has might explain some of his in Cancer comments he's made about his daughter, Ivanka.
Could be. How about let's look at Juno at 21 Virgo, squaring the moon. It's the full moon, by the way, so we're dealing with a very interesting situation. But it squares the moon exactly, and is
Yes.
only half a degree off from squaring the sun. Now, let's see what kind of a case we could come up with. First of all, there's his wife, who gets really pissed off because, like Zeus, he sleeps around. But what other kinds of things do we do with a goddess who was also a goddess of fertility and good marriages if you had good people, and
Mm.
involved in commitments that between people that were productive? The only thing about Juno that isn't good is the fact she's overwhelmingly jealous of the women who consented or denied, who might even been raped by her husband, which doesn't seem to me to be like an appraisal of a victim of a rape. But there she is being named Juno, this asteroid, and it fits within all the definitions that you have to consider an asteroid, because everything is within a degree or a degree and a half. Anyone have any other ideas? I have this, where did I put it? I actually brought to my desk here this incredible book about asteroids. Let's see what. Juno, all right. We don't get very far away from relationships with women.
Yeah, there's a something that can be said between the relationship between Juno and her husband Jupiter, and Trump and his relationship with his wives. I mean, the distinction is that he has divorced some of them and married and married, so he can marry another one. It's like he trades in the old model for a newer model.
Yeah.
Marla Maples was kind of an exception to his general rule, though, I mean, physically she had the right attributes, but normally he seems to be attracted more towards the tall, attractive, blonde Eastern European women.
Maples
But yeah,
also had a child that was not as good as looking as his other children. And even as a baby, he was not happy with the product he had developed in this union. So that's also a thing to think about.
mhm. Let's
I've got a
see.
comment.
Yes, Mike.
It's not pertaining to the asteroids, but is not Trump's Mars conjunct the ascendant for that moment for that time?
No.
No,
No,
Trump's
it's
natal Mars is not conjunct the Leo ascendant. I'm reading that wrong.
Oh, yeah,
well,
that's right.
that the ascendant is based on Trump's ascendant.
So there's no conjunction between the 6:15 p.m.
Well, let me see.
Eastern time and Trump's natal Mars.
Let me see here. I can tell you in a moment.
I mean, it's on the ascendant line, is it not? Or
Well, okay. The outer ring is always going to the outer ring lines up with the chart on the inside. The outer chart always lines up with the chart on the inside. So where the ascendant is not of the outer ring is not relevant not
Oh,
related to the inner chart.
then one other note though. Is Trump's
But
natal
that's-
Mars exactly square the Mars for 6:15 p.m. Eastern time in Pennsylvania?
Yep. That's a given, yes.
How would you read that?
It's where's it here? Hang on.
It's within a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, here we go.
Could you repeat that?
The
Trump's natal Mars what?
the ascent
Square.
the
Is it
ascendant
Mars
for the
square?
time of the attack was 16 Sagittarius 6.
Hmm.
Never mind. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at now in my slideshow. Here we go. Hang on. Here we go. Right, here we go. So yeah, so the ascendant was actually 16 Sag, which puts it down in his fourth house,
Hmm.
which is interesting. House and home. I mean, it's like, yeah, this is a direct threat to his home in the sense that had the assuming Trump was the target, which would seem to be the case.
What's the degree of that sad day of shooting ascending?
The Sag ascendant, 16.
16. Well, that almost makes an opposition to the natal Uranus, which is kind of interesting.
It basically puts, if we were to swap charts, then Trump's Uranus would be on the descendant of the assassination attempt chart.
Oh, that would seem to be significant.
And it's, yeah, let's see what else we got going on here.
Trump has Mars on the ascendant, right?
Right.
So what do we know about him with Mars on the ascendant, just in general? Because that's like a volatile, potent influence, isn't it? I'm just
Yes.
wondering, the reason why I'm also bringing it up is because, you know, that Mars at the 10th house cusp, those are both angular. And I'm just wondering, that's going to be happening to him like every, what, year and a half or so, or something like this, you know, in the Mars cycle around the.
Yeah. About around every 2 years, give or take a month or so, one way or the other, it'll happen. It happens, yes.
Right. So I bet we
yeah.
would be able to go back in time and see stuff that
Mhm.
happens to him publicly well, not just with Mars, but whenever a planet transits, because having that Mars is it's going to be squaring the Mars ascendant, and that's like the personal body. So he's always wonder what else you know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted to
Right.
just.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be easy enough to go back and look at Mars relationship to what was going on in his life around the time of the Mars crossing the angles, for example. That would be a good point, because when it crosses the fourth, it's going to be squaring his natal Mars. When it crosses as it gets ready to cross his descendant, it's opposing his natal Mars. And then, like you say here, when it's crossed the midheaven, now it's squaring his natal Mars.
Along with, I just saw Uranus is squaring it too.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
Uranus and Mars squaring his natal Mars.
Yes.
That's that at the 10th house cusp. That's like a lineup right there. If you wanted to find one for an assassination attempt, you would find it right there.
Yeah, I think that. And let's see, you came in a little late, right?
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. But yeah, because the other thing which doesn't show up here, but I think I've got it on another chart, is that the fixed star Algol by zodiacal degree is at 26 Taurus 30.
Oh.
And if you know anything about Algol, basically is it's the technical name is Beta Perseus. It's the second brightest star in the constellation of Perseus. And it represents the head of the Gorgon Medusa held in Perseus' hand, and the star itself is actually a trinary star, that is a brighter star with two smaller stars that actually orbit it, and the orbit of one causes the beta Perseus to dim and brighten, as if Medusa's winking at you. And what makes it so exceptional is that it's one of the few of that nature that's actually visible to the unaided eye.
Yeah, I want to say
So-
something about this conjunction. This conjunction is only going to happen once in many, many, many moons, because the next time Mars comes around to conjunct Uranus, Uranus is going to be in Gemini. And then for Uranus to come back into Taurus is going to be a long trip, and you don't know what the degree would be. So this is something that this is just once in a huge
it's-
amount of different varieties and angles and odds that Mars will ever come back to this exact conjunction. And this exact conjunction also by chance happens to hit the Mars of the candidate. I think we have to really realize how truly, absolutely unique this configuration of Mars in this conjunction, because
Mhm.
Mars is going to continue now and into quite a ways. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah, because the actual conjunction is tomorrow, and occurs at 26 Taurus 19. So it's even a little bit closer to the exact square to his Mars. And then obviously within, let's see, that's a 19 tomorrow. Yeah, so then probably by the end of the day or early Tuesday, the square from Mars to Mars will be exact. So yeah, but the conjunction of Mars Uranus is unique in that last time Mars and Uranus were conjunct, while they were approaching his natal Mars, they weren't there yet. The next one, they will be some point after that, but could still be in play because Uranus, it doesn't move real fast. In
Right.
fact, let me see here.
This is
Keep talking, folks, because I'm.
is the I was reading several places on the internet, everyone talking about Mars, Uranus, and Algol
Mhm.
coming up, and everyone was we're trying to figure out what's it going to be, what's it going to mean, and well, we got something here. And but why wasn't he actually hit? Because you would think with that kind of power at the angle, it would have been a successful attempt rather than a miss.
Mhm.
But you didn't put in Regulus, his lucky star rising. So Regulus, I think, was his protector, unless it was
Yeah.
stated.
Okay. The previous Mars Uranus conjunction was August 1st of 2022, and it was at 18 Taurus 43. The one before that was January 20th, 2021 at 6 Taurus 44.
About every 2 years.
Yeah. See, 6 Taurus 44. What does
Well, with a 2.5 year orbit, it's going to have to hit it every 2 years. It's
yeah, let's see,
somewhere.
6.
It's going to hit Taurus, Mars. It was going to hit Uranus someplace. It's just that.
Yeah. So 6 Taurus
But in 2
does what
years,
to his
But
chart?
that it should hit, but that it should be conjunct to his descendant is what's rare together. That's the
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah. Having a conjunction on his midheaven. Yeah.
Yeah. I meant the midheaven, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the conjunction, the previous conjunction wasn't really within orb, unless you got a big orb stretcher for his natal Mars. But the January 20th, 2021 conjunction, which was on the date that Biden was inaugurated, was within 4 degrees of his natal Pluto. making the square to his natal Pluto, and let's see. Within a degree of quincunx to his natal Neptune at 5 Libra. What else do we see here?
But he needs to turn their sound down. They're on the phone or something.
Yeah. Okay. And the next one will be at 3 Gemini 52 in July 3rd, 2026.
Mm.
So 3 Gemini. Yeah, see, 3 Gemini doesn't really
No.
do that. Trines his Neptune. So it doesn't really do too much to his chart either. Okay. Let's move along because we have more of these charts to look at. Notice that, well, let me point out one other thing. Natally, he has Juno conjunct Chiron down in his second house.
Nice. Did we decide if it was staged or not? And another question would be, could something be staged or could it be real if the planets are lined up like that?
Yeah, it can go either way.
It could
I mean,
go
this-
either way.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, because I mean the lineup of the planets may indicate support for the assassination attempt, but the question then may be, was it staged or was it obviously it was real. One thought I had was, and I did read one report where there was speculation that it wasn't actually a bullet that struck his ear, but rather a fragment of glass from the teleprompter, which apparently was struck by a bullet.
Ah, so the
Okay,
shooter would have been aiming at somebody else. That's why you said allegedly.
Yeah, because the other thing that comes up too is that, and that was just something I just read recently, was that the gentleman that was murdered, that was actually killed, was covering up his 2 daughters. I don't know what the daughters' ages were. I didn't get that far into it or how old he was. But I was wondering, one thing I thought that had crossed my mind was whether the target was actually somebody else that the shooter was mad at rather than Trump, and Trump just happened to be too close. Excuse me. The guy's a 20-year-old. He's got his father's gun, probably hasn't done a lot of shooting. There's no indication he was a hunter or anything of that nature. It's an AR type civilian rifle, which is basically a military weapon that doesn't belong in the hands of civilians because it's only good, really designed to kill people, not go hunting. But one thought was, well, maybe when I didn't have any information, my one thought was, well, maybe it was a disgruntled lover trying to shoot his ex's new boyfriend or husband or something. Or maybe, 20-year-old, maybe he was after his ex-girlfriend or some girl that rejected him.
That could be because
but Godfather instead, so I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, but we have at this point, we still don't know because we haven't found anything concrete yet or definitive, as far as I know, that would set him up as being anti-Trump. And
there were several shots were shot, right? Like 4 or 5.
Yeah, he fired off a bunch of rounds because I mean the rifle is semi-automatic.
If he wanted to hit Trump, he would have hit him.
Well, you would think, but I don't know. I mean, he was 150 meters, give or take, away, which is like it's like over pushing 500 feet.
Oh.
That's a pretty long shot. For somebody who's not used to firing a weapon.
Shot. But what a bizarre place to go after his, being a scorned lover. What a bizarre place to choose to.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have dynamite and all those explosives in his
So what's the other stuff
dealing with
about though?
that girlfriend I mean, why would he be
Um,
running around unless he's actually gonna do something at the convention? Who knows?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what's interesting is that, they did find some stuff in his car. It's like, well, where did he get that stuff? You don't go down to your, local Lowe's and buy those kind of some of that stuff. Um, and you don't get it off of Amazon, so I'm not sure where he would have dug that stuff up. So,
Do we even
Um,
know the ages of those girls? Is that?
no, I have no information on that. So I didn't even look. I just saw it right before I fired up the meetup. So I
Ah,
don't know. I mean, the likelihood is that Trump was his target, and he just wasn't that good a shot. He
Yeah.
wasn't a good shot. The other thing to keep in mind, if you're shooting a rifle or any weapon, when you're doing a rapid discharge, you get a recoil from each shot, and so
Ah,
trying to maintain sight on target with the recoil, if you're not experienced, is going to be very, very difficult.
I see. Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I don't know if there was a scope on the rifle either. Without a scope, it makes it that much harder. I mean,
oh, that was cool. Oh my God.
if you're standing on one corner of the block and you're looking down and you see somebody at the far end of the block, how big are they?
Well, let's take a football field. He's standing at one side end of the football field, shooting at the other. That's quite a thing to
Yeah,
do
it's
with
actually
just
farther than that
huh?
because I mean the football
Wow,
field,
that's a really long shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a long shot. Now, the fact that he hit people was not surprising because you had this bunch of people in a grandstand behind Trump. So yeah, the probability was he was going to hit somebody.
But then he was probably aiming at Trump then.
Yeah, most
I've got
likely.
Trump got
I mean,
lucky. Trump gets lucky a lot. He relies on his luck.
yeah, yeah, and he's obviously not thinking straight. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody in their right mind would be doing that.
exactly.
nobody in their right mind would be doing that.
No, yeah, you
No,
don't get in a
and
building and try to take out the person going for president. Am I reading this right? Mars is conjunct Uranus of the shooter.
yes, at the bottom of his chart.
So right here it says Mars conjunct
Let me get
Uranus
this.
natal. You find that now this pertains to him, of course. You find that danger, innovation, and speed have an allure that's hard to resist. You want to break free of all bounds, and almost anything that doesn't strike you as original or unusual feels like a drag.
Yeah.
So this guy, there's a
Oh.
video of his high school graduation ceremony. They
Yeah.
say he was bullied a lot. So this looks like the classic alienated,
Yeah.
Go
lonely,
back.
isolated.
That doesn't
And
this
the
picture.
Mars Uranus
Mars
lines up
conjunct
for him.
natal
Okay.
stewing around in his head, and whatever his
Yeah.
political agenda thinking is.
Yeah.
I just got a message. I've got to leave now, guys. I've got something to do with my wife's car. So
Okay.
I'll
Well, thank you, Spencer.
okay, yeah. Good
Uh,
show. Once again, we all got to realize how much Jim works on these charts that he creates. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's this bi-wheel has Trump on the inside and his assassin on the outer wheel. And natally, the assassin's Mars Uranus conjunction is actually in his fourth house. Well, we don't know exactly what house it would be in because we don't have his birth time. And so, but the only thing that's going to move in terms of the object you see would be the moon. And his moon could move up to 6 degrees one way or the other because I'm using a noon chart for um, Thomas Crookes. And his moon was moving at just over 12 degrees a day. So um, if he was born right after midnight, his moon would be at 12 Cancer. If he was born but right before midnight, it would be at 24 Cancer. But the Mars Uranus conjunction that he has there at 0 and 29 Pisces Aquarius, that's solid. And yeah, it's on Trump's descendant opposing his Mars on his ascendant. And I think that is telling. And then because when you throw in then the transiting Mars Uranus conjunction at 26 Taurus, you've got a powerful T-square.
I always find it fascinating how there's themes that happen in events like just like this, that you have the Mars Uranus duplicating itself in the person's chart and in the transit. That would be a Mars Uranus theme, obviously. I always find that it happens more often than not in astrology that a theme will show up like this.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful theme because Mars is what aggression, action. It's do it now. It's like I want what I want, and I want it now. And Uranus is the surprise. It's the unexpected. So yeah,
And
I'm
this,
sure if his father had any inclination his son was capable of doing this or had any plans to do this, he probably would have done something to intervene because nobody wants their son to get killed like that. And
all these
so
people with
obviously,
guns that leave them out for kids to get a hold of them, that's the biggest travesty of all.
yeah. Well, this kid's 20 years old. He's supposed to be, semi-responsible
Yeah,
adult.
we don't know the father did that. We don't know that gun, where that gun came from.
Yeah, we don't know how the gun was stored. It may be that it was in a locked cabinet, but the son knew where the key was. And, we don't really know the circumstances yet.
I'm sure we'll
But
hear more.
yeah, the one thing that is probably safe to say is that if the Secret Service agent hadn't zeroed in on and found him so quickly and taken him out, that is Crooks, he probably would have had time to reload and keep shooting.
That's a thought.
And no telling what he might have done. He might have kept shooting, trying to then shoot the Secret Service agents who were then trying to protect Trump, or shot some more people. Or if he had fled, gotten in his car and taken off with his explosives, who knows where he was going. Like you mentioned, I think it was Michael, that maybe he was on his way to Milwaukee to the convention. Who knows what his plans were? And so far, we don't know. If the authorities have found out, then we don't know any more now than we did an hour or two ago. Well, let me see. I'm checking something here.
I would think that for younger people, teens, and especially 20-year-olds, where you're trying to figure life out and you've got a government that's so divisive, and you've got a guy who's supposed to be a mature person trying to debate, and all he does is criticize and make fun of and bully the other rather than talk about his own campaign. And I would think that this would be extremely confusing of what are our values in this country. And for people who are trying to trying to figure themselves out, having that reflection in the government and the leaders, the male leaders of the country be on, that everyone's voting for someone like that. I mean, not everyone, but so many people are supporting a bully. That wipes out everything they had just learned in school, not to be a bully, So how confusing can life be? We have the advantage of being older and we've seen a lot, so we're somewhat jaded by everything to a certain extent. It's still shocking, but for a young person coming of age, it must be really difficult to navigate this life here in this country.
Now here's some. Let me back up. Do I have it somewhere? Here we go. Right, here's the basic natal chart for the shooter. You're seeing it?
Yeah.
Just the 10 planets. Okay. So I'm reading this off the internet, and this I think is what Michael was talking about too. So Jason Kohler, who went to the same high school as Crooks, looks like he was probably a year ahead of him, commented that Crooks was bullied by other students, seemed to be a loner. Commented that he had no facial expression when he walked through the school hallways. He wasn't like with the clique, with the in crowd, so he always had, I guess, a target on his back. And Another former student remembered Crooks as a quiet kid, not obviously political or violent in any way. She said the only time he spoke with her was when their class was waiting for their graduation ceremony to start. A third classmate said that, Crooks didn't stand out, but said that from what she saw, he wasn't necessarily shy or quiet when he was among his group of friends in high school that he was close with. Let's see, the gun Crooks used in the shooting was an AR-style weapon. Gun was traced to his Crooks' father, who bought it legally, registered to Crooks' father. Apparently, I saw something where it indicated he may have bought it like within the last several months, like 6 months or so ago, but that's not confirmed. The unfortunate thing too is that with bullying in school, is that the schools tend to turn a blind eye to it.
I know, of course they have
It's
to.
like they're afraid to get involved. They're afraid to. It's unfortunate that they're afraid. It seems they're literally afraid to do anything for fear of reprisal on the part of the family of the bullies. They think, well, it's just kids being kids. It's just, the phase they'll pass. Yes, maybe the bully will kind of pass out of that phase, but the kid they're bullying won't. He takes that with him. And unfortunately, a lot of the bullies in high school go on to become bullies in life. They're used to it. They're used to having, intimidating people.
I'll leave.
So, okay. So, is there
Well,
any?
you're seeing it, the kid that was trained to be the bully in his military school is now the bully. We
Yeah.
have that whole documented by the YouTube videos by the psychiatrists that analyze him.
Yeah. Yes,
He
Donald
was
Trump.
put in a position to bully in his
Yeah.
military school.
Yeah, and so he takes that role in life, and he's a
Though
bully.
I will say that both my grandsons were bullied, and in both cases, one was the Covina School District and one was Riverside, and they took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And they
They all
followed,
do.
they followed
good.
up.
It's awful being bullied in school. It's the
Yeah.
worst
All
thing.
right. So, is there anything that we can see now that knowing a little bit more about the shooter, and is there anything that we can see in his chart here that might give us a clue as to his psychological mental state?
I've got a clue right here, I believe. I just found Astrology King on the Jupiter opposite Uranus, right? He's got Jupiter opposite Uranus natal, right?
Right.
So it says Jupiter opposite Uranus natal gives creative brilliance, but at a cost. Your unorthodox style and rebellious streak can turn the establishment against you and make you a social outcast. However, the risks associated with this aspect can be reduced without curbing your enthusiasm or originality. He might have been, trying to get a claim to fame if he had successfully pulled off what he most likely was trying to do, right? Given his whole outcast situation. I would say Jupiter opposite Uranus natal is key.
Yeah. I think it seems that most assassins, unless they have a political agenda, their agenda really is to become noted. I mean, it's like Hinckley, who shot Reagan. He wanted to impress Jodie Foster. It's like, dummy, she's gay. But yeah, but the other thing too, Mike, is that not only is Jupiter opposing Uranus, but Jupiter's also opposing Mars. And you have a very tight Mars-Uranus conjunction, and they're retrograde. So both Mars and Uranus and Neptune are closer to the Earth because all three of them are retrograde, meaning the Earth is between them and the sun. So yeah, and now the other thing is that his sun is unaspected. Sun, if you look at the little chart over here in the corner, you'll see that there are no aspects by the sun.
That's rare.
And the moon's only aspect is a conjunction to Saturn.
Which leads to depression.
Now, assuming that we're, not way off on the time, it's that Moon Saturn conjunction doesn't, to me, create a sensitive type person. It would tend to indicate to me somebody who may not have had a strong mother in his life, a strong feminine influence in his life. But the sun being unaspected, it's like it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be totally out there, or it's going to be very introverted, and almost like trying to find a way out, but not really wanting to, afraid to step out. And it's Virgo, and Virgos can be kind of weird.
Excuse me.
That's Rita. Speaking as a Virgo. Yeah. Well, I mean, his Mercury is conjunct my sun, so
So his Mars is in Virgo there.
his
So
Mars is in
Libra. His
Pisces.
Mars is in Libra. Oh,
Mars
wait,
is
I'm
in
looking
Pisces.
at the wrong chart, aren't? Who am I looking at? Yeah,
Okay, where
no,
are you
this
at?
is his chart. Yeah,
Okay, which chart are you seeing?
yeah, I'm seeing his the assassin's chart. I'm seeing that.
Yes. Okay, so Mars in Pisces. Yes. Neptune trines Venus.
Oh, this is what I was going to ask.
Yes.
That's his sun, right? And it's between Mars and Mercury, right?
Venus and Mercury. Yes.
Venus and Mercury. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Never mind.
Okay. Let's see. So what do we know? Okay, so Venus is in, so we don't have a final dispositor because we have the moon in Cancer, Venus in Libra, Mercury in Virgo. Uranus in Aquarius. So you've got 4 planets in signs they rule. So this could indicate literally a ongoing conflict of turmoil, in a sense that, like, who's in charge here? Everybody wants to be in charge, but nobody gets to be in charge.
Wow. I
Okay.
never would have interpreted that like that. That's an interesting view,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just came up. Yeah, it's something I just noticed.
I would have
Yeah.
thought it would lead, because it always says that, that would lead to strength of, of the planet and its expression. But it's a good point. Who, if they're so all strong, who's the winner here?
Right. Yeah.
Which way do we go? Who's going to lead?
You see, Mars is in Pisces, goes to Neptune, which is in Aquarius, goes to Uranus. So those 3 at the bottom, you have a triumvirate. You got those 3 are together, in that sense. So they're paying homage to, or they're led by Uranus. So that gives Uranus the lead from the bottom of the chart. Pluto over there by himself is in Sagittarius, goes up to Jupiter in Virgo. With Mercury in Virgo, now Mercury's got the sun and Jupiter on their side. And the moon's got Saturn on her side. And then Venus is over here in Libra by herself. So yeah, it's a very dynamically diverse chart in that sense, I think. And it's hard, especially with the sun unaspected. And which is why, when I first started learning astrology and started learning about knowing that there's all these other points, I used to put a lot of stuff on the chart. And then I realized that, no, you want to start clean with just the very basic, which is why typically I will start with just the 10 planets and the 5 Ptolemaic aspects.
And I when first started having an unaspected sun or moon, indicated a difficult life because of not being able to integrate into it.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering too, because I have those 4 points in Aquarius, which is not easy to integrate either, you know, the outsider. I just wonder, but in comparison, what is having a lot of Aquarius versus not having an aspected sun or moon? How does that, or is it similar, or is there a difference? If you see what I mean, we don't have to answer it. I just
Mhm.
I just thought that.
Yeah, see, Uranus is looking for that unique identity.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with the sun, which is our ego identity, our self being unaspected, if it were in Leo, if the sign it rules, it'd be a whole different story. It could just jump out and say, "Look at me, here I am," but it's not. It's in Virgo, and Virgo, mutable Earth, Earth and water work together. Earth and fire, not so much, because fire burns. And so the sun, I think, in Virgo, just because of all of the other stuff going on, has to, in this case, give homage to Mercury, who rules the sign. And so that would by itself tend to inhibit the sun a little bit. But because it's unaspected, it tends to make it a more inhibited, makes it more difficult for the sun to express itself, for that aspect of the personality to express itself, which causes problems then, from a Uranian standpoint. Where's his unique nature? He had no idea. It's not getting out there. You can't come out through the moon and its feminine aspect, because that's over there with Saturn trying to curtail it. It's not going to come out with the sun, because the sun has got no way to connect it, literally, other than through Mercury. And so then I think you have this very strong trio down at the bottom, all homage to Uranus. And Uranus is retrograde. And when planets are retrograde, they're closer to the Earth, they're stronger, and they don't necessarily behave like you would expect them to behave. And which is, what would be your expectation on something that is generally known to be unpredictable? Uranus is noted for its, it's sometimes called the teenager of the zodiac, because of its apparent wild nature, its unpredictable nature. But it's looking for that unique spark. The individual wants us to establish our own uniqueness, our individuality, and yet it's somewhat inhibited because it's retrograde. It's at the bottom of the chart, in the third house, early learning, neighborhood. He had trouble in school. Golly gee. Mars, Uranus, Neptune, retrograde in his third house. If the time is reasonably close, that would, to me, it's almost like kind of indicating that a noontime may be fairly close to his birth time, because his life seems to be mirroring more the trio in the third house. But again, we could be off. But if he's born earlier, we turn things back, and they're still going to be in the third house for a while.
Yeah.
But we may never know, we may never find out his birth time. But meanwhile, it's
Life is just a bowl of cherries.
isn't it? Or as they say, when life gives you a lemon, make lemonade.
Right.
Yeah, but then it's still kind of sour. Okay, so let's see if we can catch up to where we were.
So hard with the moon conjunct Saturn, though.
Yeah.
It's
Barbara, are you back with us? Okay. No. Okay, here's Trump and the assassin. Yes. Okay. No, this is the assassination attempt. We see Ceres at 12 Capricorn. Oh, no, I'm using my finger. You can't see my finger. Here, opposing or conjunct Trump's natal Pallas at 11 Capricorn. Ceres, Pallas, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the assassination occurred at this relatively small rural area in Pennsylvania, you know, probably more associated with, farming. It's conservative area, in all likelihood, because he did draw a crowd, several, anywhere from a few hundred to several hundred people, not the massive crowd that, he might draw if he was in a big city. Which makes it an interesting place, but it also probably made it a place where it would be easier for an assassin to get a shot at him. Even though, like I say, supposedly the point the assassin was at was I read it was 150 meters approximately from the podium where Trump was, which works out to 450, about, close to 500 feet, which makes it over a block, over a standard city block or a normal city block is going to be about 440 feet.
Was he on a rooftop?
Yes, he was on a rooftop, which gave him a good line of sight to the target. But again, there's no indication that he was an experienced marksman or had been out target shooting to try to prepare for this, though he may have probably did some. But at some point, Daddy's going to notice that some bullets are missing. They lived kind of in town, so it wasn't like he was from a small farming community where you could easily go out in the country and start plinking away. AR-15s are not 22s, so it's not like you're not going to call some attention to yourself if you're out there firing off rounds.
When did
So
they
yeah,
say
there's a whole lot of things that'll be interesting to find out.
when did they say the father bought the rifle?
I think it was a few months ago, but I think one thing I I think it said like 6 months ago or thereabouts. But again, we don't know exactly when. We don't know why Daddy bought the rifle.
Right.
Did his son, want to go learn how to hunt and go hunting with Daddy? We don't know any of that. Apparently, the family of Crook's family is cooperating with authorities.
Do you think that the Ceres conjunct Pallas has anything to do with anything? That's hard
Everything
to.
has something to do with something. So yes.
Yeah, but
I mean, Pallas. Pallas Athena, has a warlike quality to her. Ceres is grain family.
Nurturing.
Yeah, and it may just be about the setting where this took place.
What about the setting?
The Ceres Pallas conjunction, because I think it was, where was it? Hang on, let me see if I still have that. Here. I'm looking. It was at, let's see.
If I had seen that Ceres Pallas conjunction, I'll just admit it. If I had seen that in the chart and I was reviewing it for a reading or something, I would notice that it was exact, but I wouldn't try to conjugate it.
Yeah.
But it is, but Vesta is also conjunct Pluto. So there's another asteroid that's conjunct a planet. I would make precedence over the Vesta Pluto than I would over the Ceres Pallas. But that's because we were trained to think of them as lesser influences. But are they lesser? Are they lesser?
Hmm.
Should we make more of an effort is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe,
I know.
maybe-
It,
so,
yeah, it only works if you're looking for like a third, you're looking for three things to confirm something, and
okay,
um,
that works.
that may be the third kind of nail in the coffin, so to speak. Um,
But interestingly, out of the four, then there's Chiron. And Chiron, to me, is a major player, just like the rest of the planets. Whereas the other four are significant where they're in a natal chart, if they're conjunct a personal point, you know.
and see, that's one place where you and I kind of would kind of disagree. I think I don't think Chiron's that big a player. I think we're trying to make him a big player, but I don't really think he's that big player. And
Where
I don't think we're necessarily making him into what he really is.
where do you see him there?
Uh,
Point
oh,
Cal
I don't have,
Chiron?
He's
no, I
not
don't think I
there
have Chiron in here.
because he
Well,
I
doesn't think
intentionally
he's
left.
a
I
major
don't know.
player.
I feel that in my chart, Chiron plays a huge part in my chart.
And
But
mine
then-
as well. Mine too. And and if you have it huge in your chart, you
Right.
notice it as an astrologer, you notice when other people have it in their chart and what they're like, and you see things. But if
Yeah.
you don't have it, you might not see the same way that a chirotic person would, if you see what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Chiron's kind of like on my Mars Jupiter midpoint. It's kind of conjunct both, but it's
Jim,
in
I've got
my
a note
Libra
on the
crowd.
transiting Ceres
There we go.
conjunct Pallas.
Um, okay, so here's the bywheel for Trump and the shooter with the asteroids thrown in. And I think here they might take on a little more. Okay, let's see. Yeah, see the rally was at some kind of a farm. Um, it was at a park farm area, kind of like a park area or something in the little town that in Butler. Um, and um,
Couldn't be that rural if they had a tall building for him to get on top of.
it wasn't a tall building.
Oh,
It wasn't a tall building. It was a
oh,
single story. It was a single story steel frame
oh,
farm type building.
oh, okay.
Um, yeah. Let's see here.
How did the Secret Service not notice that there could be a shooter from a building? You would think that that would be one of the things they would scope out first, is what
Well,
angles.
they did. Okay.
Oh,
They
they
did
did?
scope out the area. But
I
here's the
don't-
thing.
Okay.
You see, that building doesn't have a flat roof.
Hmm.
It like I say, it appears. Hang on. Let me do this. I'm gonna stop screen sharing momentarily.
Wave and I want to know about that building.
All right, here we go. Here we come. All right, so I'm going to turn this and see how close I can get it to. You see the picture? Okay, so the building. Here's, I get my finger in here. Okay, so this is the building where the shooter was.
We can't see you
This,
pointing.
hang on, I'm trying to.
Is it on
See,
the
I'm trying
right
to.
or the left? Is it on the, just say,
Okay, hang on, let me
or up,
figure
or
this out.
up or
Okay,
right?
there we go. Okay, here I go. Okay, here's where the crowd in the podium was, where Trump was speaking. Over here, I'm,
Can
this is
you just
awkward.
say right or
Here's
left? You can't do that.
here.
Can't do
There's the
right and
building
left,
where
it
the
is.
shooter was. Right. Yes. Okay. Whoops. Went away.
Hard to see.
Get back
It was
to
hard
it.
to
Hang on.
see.
It was hard to see.
Yeah.
It was reflecting.
Um,
Yeah, it
let
was
me
reflective.
hang on.
Okay.
Let me see if this works. Okay. I will include the picture in
Yeah.
my PDF of this.
I was going to say exactly that thing.
Right. Okay, over here on the left is where the Trump was, and over here on the right, I could really, here we go. Okay, so over here is where the shooter was, and over here is where Trump was. And now this is indicating like about 400 feet.
I was gonna
I
say,
read
yeah.
one report where it's 150 meters. Um, so another that said 200 to 300 yards. So at any rate, it wasn't, super close. But from what I can see of the buildings, okay, I'm trying to remember what this thing was called, something farm something. Um, so it had the big open space where they could do the rally and all that stuff. And the buildings you see appear to be more modern steel frame type buildings. And they have a slightly sloped roof. And so the shooter was able to approach, get up on the building that he shot from, and it was called a bear walk up the roof to the ridge line.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, until he hit the ridge line, he was
They couldn't
basically
see him.
invisible to the snipers. Now
Yeah.
there was a sniper
Ah,
located on a building to the rear, and which would be over here was where the Secret Service sniper was that took him out.
Okay.
And so apparently once the assassin started shooting, the sniper picked him right up and took him out,
Right.
so you could see him then.
which allowed or prevented the sniper from firing off more rounds.
And do you know
But
why
I will,
they have A-frame buildings there?
pardon?
Do you know why they have A-frame roofs?
They're farm buildings.
No, because of the snow.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but
They,
you
they
can
have the sloped
farm
roof because of the snow. Yeah, they're farm buildings and they're built that
because
way.
one of the built supermarkets up north here when it snowed collapsed because they made a flat roof up in the mountains of LA here.
Yeah.
And I didn't do, thank you for doing all this research and providing all this stuff for us, Jim. It's very interesting.
Yes.
I don't know if you read it. I did very little research on it. It's just too much. But I did see one thing recently that there were I think almost all the assassinations of presidents, they were all Republican presidents. Did you see that? Starting with Abraham Lincoln.
Except they weren't. They weren't
Not,
all Republican.
they weren't all? Was it
JFK.
No,
most?
Kennedy was a
JFK wasn't.
Democrat.
Then it was a false fact. See, I don't like to do
Yes.
that research anymore.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm
Opinions,
not sure. Let's see. I know Lincoln was the first one, and he was a Republican.
Yeah, but he
Reagan,
wasn't a real Republican.
Reagan.
Excuse me,
No,
what do you mean he wasn't a real Republican?
he was at the time a real Republican.
Yes,
That was
he
what
was very much
Republican
Republican.
Oh,
I
I
would have
know,
been
but I'm
Republican back.
talking philosophically.
Philosophically, yes, he was a real Republican
Yeah, he
because that
was.
was what the Republican Party stood for.
I
That was
never
think of
mind.
the distinction between the Republican and Democratic Party at that time.
Yeah, it has to be at that
They
time.
their roles have kind of reversed, but yeah.
Yeah, they've
Uh,
reversed.
Yeah, but yeah. Trying to think. Yeah. Well, I'll have to. Yeah, I know that.
McKinley, Reagan, Lincoln. Those are the only. Was Harding?
Well, let's see. There was.
Harding shot at too? I don't know. I'd have
Let's see. Garfield was assassinated.
Garfield. That was what it was. Garfield. Sorry.
Let's see. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. Give me a link. Okay, so Lincoln, Republican, was the first one. Garfield was the second one. Garfield was
Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and
So-
Kennedy. And Kennedy was the only Democrat. So three were Republican and one was Democrat. I forgot about.
Mhm.
Actually, I
Here,
forgot.
you tell me. Was Garfield a Republican? Journey. Yeah. So Garfield was a Republican. Who was next? McKinley.
But Rita, why were you saying, I just want to hear your chirotic point of view. Why were you saying that you don't think that Lincoln was a true, what is your view? What is your take
I'm
on
not
that?
sure I'm gonna pull it all together, but a true Republican wouldn't have set the slaves free. But it was also when they, I can't remember now. I'll think about it and come back, but it had to do with the more talking about being a Lincoln kind of Republican versus a Trump kind of Republican. But I'll think about it and describe it.
Oh.
How to
Well, yeah.
be more concise about it, get back to you.
That's interesting that's interesting what you just said though. Wouldn't have let the
Yeah, because they were saying we're Lincoln Republicans, not like
so,
Trump
and the
Republicans.
Republicans liked Lincoln because they had all the slaves, and when he went against that, that's what made them so angry. Yeah, but he was more of a, he was Aquarius, so he would have been more egalitarian than.
The first three presidents that were assassinated were all Republicans, and then Kennedy was the lone Democrat.
Okay.
We
He
started
wasn't
looking
the
at
president, but
attempts.
they
That's another
also went
matter.
after Robert Kennedy, senator, who was a potential potential
Yeah.
president.
Yeah, 68 was an interesting year, wasn't it?
The way I said that is because of oh, come on, Rick, today. Not Truman. No.
Okay.
Come
We
on.
need to.
Wait, Roosevelt.
Yes. Interesting.
Teddy
Something to
Roosevelt
keep.
was different than Franklin Roosevelt.
Yes. Okay. Something to keep in mind. Since most of us remember 68, or know the history of 1968 and the Democratic Convention in Chicago, and the Chicago 7. Okay. It was a very troubling time in 68 because of protests against the Vietnam War and the like.
Vietnam War.
Okay. All right. So now it's 2024, 56 years later. Democrats have their convention back in Chicago. These are very difficult times, lots of protests, lots of anger. Pay attention. Chicago could be an interesting Democratic convention.
Yeah.
And remember also in 68, it was expected that Johnson would run again. The Republican Party was in disarray trying to come up with who was going to represent the Republican Party. And by the time all the dust settled, it was the Democrats were trying to figure out who we're going to nominate up against Nixon. Nixon ran away with it. He surprised everybody. So
Did.
Almost sounds like deja vu, doesn't it?
it does. And unfortunately, the Republicans won that year.
Yeah,
they
I mean,
say
Biden doesn't want to leave, and you've got top elite Democrats saying he's got to go. The Democratic Party seems to be fractured at the top. So there's echoes, right, of 68, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tricky one.
Itself.
Let me go back to sharing our screen so I can get back to where we were.
We were at the buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, I will send that, put the picture of the building on a slide so you can all see it. And I've got emails for all of you, and I'll send you it out to you. Okay.
You're
All
going
right,
to
so
do
now let's
hearing
get back.
on the Secret Service because that farm building was outside the perimeter, right?
Yeah.
So because it was outside the perimeter, you didn't have Secret Service like on the ground by that building, eyeballs on the backs of those buildings. So anybody
Yeah.
could just crawl up, creep up, go up a ladder. And like you said, you know, with the pitch, the slope of the roof and be
Mhm.
fairly undetected until the last moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know, there were local police there, but yeah, somebody supposedly had seen somebody climbing up the roof, crawling up the roof with a gun, and tried to alert the police, but then the police were busy trying to figure out where and trying to see the guy and trying to figure out how to get there. And rather than, and apparently did not, you know, raise an alarm to alert the Secret Service um, at the time. So we don't really know what all communication was going on at the time. But yeah, and you know, wouldn't take long once you're on the roof to get from where you climbed up out of sight up to the ridge line, aim and start shooting, or literally point and start shooting.
So do you have to be loyal to the person that a secret agent is protecting? Because those secret agents, is that what they're called?
Secret Service
Security.
agents. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they just, you know, protected Trump immediately.
Yeah.
You know, do they vet these people that they know they're going to protect whoever they're assigned to protect? I know we're kind of off here, but I just saw these guys risking their lives and putting themselves around Trump, and I thought, are they Trumpers? Are they Secret Service? Who are, you know?
Yeah, I don't think they go so far as asking them what their political affiliation is one way or the other. The person I know that Trump, or you know, the president or former president who has the Secret Service protection, does get some input into the people that are guarding them.
Mm.
You know, if they have issues with them, they can, you know, raise the issue and have them get somebody in to replace them. So yeah, it's not like you're going to get, you know, a bunch of necessarily a bunch of uh, Democrat pro Biden people
That's
on
not
Trump to
funny, but
say,
I
you know,
just saw these
oh, whoops, I'm
people.
sorry, I missed that. You know, or vice versa. You're going to have all these, you know, you have to be a pro-Trumper in order to protect Trump. No, there is a vetting process involved, and it's a very limited. It's not all Secret Service agents that are part of those details.
Mm.
Not all Secret Service agents are even eligible for those details. You have to be that group of people, agents that are used for those details, are a select group of agents. Okay,
And
so here we have tri-wheel with Trump on the inside, solar arc in the middle, and the transits in the outside. This is for the time of the shooting. This one is not for the time of the shooting. What's going on here? Where did you come from? That's right. Never mind. I have to fix that. Okay. Let me see what else have I got. Here's come on. Nope. Here we go. What's this one? Oh, this is the Republican convention. The beginning of the Republican convention tomorrow. The first official session is scheduled for 12:45 p.m. Maybe that's going to be changed. I don't know. But this is what this chart's for.
So that's 9 something our time.
Yeah, like 9:45 our no, it'd be 10:45 our time. Milwaukee Central.
Oh, right. It's Chicago. It's only 2 hours difference.
Yeah. We still have the,
for
you know, we
drama.
still got that tight Mars-Uranus conjunction. Got Pluto, Saturn, Neptune retrograde.
Pluto opposite the sun.
Jupiter's still unaspected, or Jupiter is unaspected, let's put it that way. Which I find interesting because Jupiter is the ruling planet for the Republican Party.
Oh,
Lucky them.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it lucky that their ruling planet is unaspected?
No. I mean, is it on, oh, is this on S? I thought this was for tomorrow.
It is. It's for the beginning of the Republican National Convention. And
No,
here's
it's not
Jupiter.
up yet. Oh, it's not, oh, for this time period, yes, but not for, you don't know if
Yeah,
it's
for
unexpected in the
or
chart.
tomorrow. It will be unaspected at the scheduled start of the first official session of the Republican National Convention.
That's true, but then you have Uranus conjunct the sun, and that energy could fill in the vacuum of the no aspects of Jupiter. Does that make sense?
No.
I'll
What do
tell
you
you what, you're saying Uranus sextile sun, you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, sextile the sun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Uranus Mars conjunction is sextiling the sun. Doesn't really do much of anything for Jupiter. Nobody's in Sagittarius, so there's nobody for Jupiter to boss around.
Hmm.
Mercury's in Leo.
Oh,
That
Pluto.
doesn't really help. So and this could be a case now. Jupiter's in Gemini, which is the sign of its detriment. So
Say that
Jupiter
again?
is weaker here.
Yeah.
It's a sign opposite. It's the sign opposite Saturn, Sagittarius, which is the sign it rules. So Jupiter is in a weakened state and unaspected. Now I've seen, there's been some big headlines that came out right after the attempted assassination was, of course, oh well, Trump's going to be a shoo-in now because this will make him a sure winner. Everybody's going to vote for him. Why? Sorry, but there's a lot of people out there, a few million, probably thinking, but not saying, damn, what a lousy shot. Too bad he wasn't a better shot. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people
Mhm.
There are.
that are thinking,
Maybe some on
if
this call
only,
right now.
if only. And
Life's a lot easier.
yeah, the question then becomes, what would happen? Now, here's the other thing I'm thinking too. That okay, so Trump put on a pretty good face.
Oh
There
yeah,
as
he's gonna come in as the martyr. Look what they tried to do to me, but
Well,
I'm
but is he?
I'm the returning hero here.
But is he? Is he really? I mean, let's face it. Trump's a bully. He's not a hero.
That's right. There's a difference.
Okay. He's going to go home and he's going to look at Melania and Barron and, will he find a reason to drop out?
Oh, I doubt it.
Because just because the
Really?
first guy missed doesn't mean the next guy will.
Oh, yeah. I still think a female's coming up president soon, within the next couple of years.
I
I
think
would like it. This year would be fine by me.
yeah,
might be.
I would like Trump. Well, Trump's ego's too big to drop out, I think.
I know. I don't think he'll drop out. But
No,
what
not
I'm
with
saying though is
regulars.
that all of a sudden, there's a new reality for him. All of this Bravo, all of his talk about let's fight, take it back, do this, do that. He was
Oh,
expecting
yes.
everybody else to do the fighting.
Yes.
Not me. I'm not a
That's
fighter.
right.
I'm a bully, not a fighter.
So when we do, is it next month, we're gonna do the Democratic convention?
Yeah, we'll look at the aftermath of the Republican convention and then look at also then at the Democratic
Can we
convention.
look, we're gonna look at Biden, right?
Yeah.
But
I've
are
got
we gonna be
Biden's chart in
looking
here
at,
too. So
we're gonna look at Kamala Harris?
yes.
Because, I mean,
Well, well, who we'll look at come August will depend on what's going on in August. But
right. But I
Okay.
heard her, I mean, they did you know how on the late night talk shows, they do a 10-minute segment with somebody. Jimmy Kimmel had her on for 30 minutes and I went, oh my goodness, is she good? If good old Biden can't make 4 years, she's going to be great.
yeah,
And
I'm
I
glad to-
hope, huh?
I'm glad to hear that. I'm gonna look that up to watch it.
Oh, yes. I'm sure. I was
Mhm.
pretty sure it was Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah. It was
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago.
Kamala was on The View a couple months ago
But
for
she was
the
good on
whole
there too, on
show,
the view.
and
Yep. Hmm.
and she was
Hmm.
very impressive there.
Yeah, that
And I
too.
think one of the unfortunate thing is that, good old Joe really didn't give her much to do. And I think good old Joe is just a little too much good old white kind of male chauvinist Joe who's, I mean, come on, Kamala's like his daughter's age, for crying out loud.
Well, we may
Yeah, it
get
could
a
be
female president in through the back door.
I think
Yeah.
we're going to. I
so yeah,
I think
it's
there's a
so
Now,
big
if we get
possibility.
we get Biden Harris, and then Joe can't
Okay,
finish
yeah.
4 years, we got Harris right through the back door.
Yeah. So here's the Republican convention with the points in it, the asteroids and the other points.
Hmm.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Just these other points thrown in. And we've added in here's the asteroid Lilith down here. Black moon here. So what is going on? Here is Haumea, 0 Scorpio. Kind of a wide opposition to Eris. But notice Eris is at 25 Aries, trining Trump's Mars at 26 Leo. And we still, here's that 26 Taurus Mars Uranus conjunction squaring Trump's 26 Leo Mars and his 29 Leo ascendant. Here's Sedna at 0 Gemini, out of sign square to Trump's ascendant.
Wait, is Trump is in this chart, or is this the RNC?
No, he's not. I'm just remembering. I'm just
Oh.
okay. I'm just remembering where Trump's stuff is.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get this chart? Just what's in the sky at the time of this convention?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Yep. It's like, yep, same as all the other charts. Yep. This is for 1245. So, if their
Yeah,
schedule gets changed.
a chart for the event. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Chiron is conjunct Eris, is it not, right there at 25 degrees Aries?
Yeah. Where are we? Hang on.
Did you switch?
Where do we go? I switched charts. Hang on, let me go back and see.
It's within 3
Uh,
degree orb, Chiron, that's Chiron and Eris.
Yeah, hang on. Let's see. Let me go
Goddess
back
of
to the other
strife
one.
and discord.
Here we go. There we go. Now this is Donald Trump. Where am I? Hang on.
Eris was in green.
Biden. Yep. Okay. Oh,
There.
here we go. There's this one.
Chiron.
Okay. Yes, Chiron's conjunct Eris.
And Eris is the Greek goddess of strife and discord, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So
yeah, well, he's a lot more than that.
it could go plus or minus for the Republicans, right? I mean, if you get the healing aspect of Chiron resonating with Eris's positive energy, that might influence.
I don't see that as
See,
positive.
here's where I start to
I see that as combative.
diverge from what most people talk about. When they talk about Chiron, they talk about the wounded healer. Well, yeah, okay, but let's get this straight. Okay. He was a healer. He learned healing and he taught healing to others. He taught how to fight. He taught archery and other
Astrology,
manly sports to
music.
Achilles. He was a great teacher. Ultimately, yes, he was wounded, and when he became wounded, because he was immortal, even though it was a fatal poison, but couldn't kill him because he was half god from his father Saturn. So he couldn't die. So he suffered. But then he saw the crap. Who was the guy with on the rock with the birds? Who stole fire from the gods?
Prometheus.
Prometheus, thank you.
Welcome.
So he sees Prometheus chained to this rock, where the sea eagles come in and pick out his eyes and liver every day, and then at night they grow back in, and the eagles come back the next day and pick him out again. And so Chiron offered himself as a sacrifice to take Prometheus's place on the rock. And so the gods were so moved by Chiron's gesture of self-sacrifice that they let Prometheus go, and they placed Chiron in the heavens as a constellation, Centaurus. So ultimately, here you have somebody who is, in the end, about self. He starts life with abandonment because both his father and mother abandon him because he's ugly, ugly little baby, half horse, half man. You know, or not quite. Not a true centaur because he doesn't come from where the centaurs come from. He just looks like him. And he's taken in by Apollo as his foster father, who then teaches him all of these great things. Chiron then goes on to be, to teach and heal. Stories are more about him as a teacher than as a healer, really. He taught healing to Asclepius, who then went out and he taught botany and things of that nature. And then when he's wounded, he offers himself as a sacrifice. So it's about abandonment, self-sacrifice. Neither one of which seem to resonate well with the current Republican Party, for the most part. And so with Eris, Eris is that discord that who knows? Perhaps the self-sacrifice Chiron. Maybe Trump will drop out
Jim, I just found
for
a note
some
for you.
reason.
I can't believe that we were even thinking that at all, that could be possible. I
He's
mean,
not
knowing his
he's a-
personality, that's incredible that you even thought of that. That's really
But,
thinking of the
yes,
box.
I mean he's all ego.
Yeah.
He's all ego.
And Chiron is
But
not
damn,
ego. And
he's got
Chiron-
it. He's got it so beat into him that you know heroes are dead people.
That's true.
He has a total disregard for veterans, for the disabled veterans, and people who are injured or die in war. He has no regard for them at all. He can't understand them.
Yeah.
Why would somebody do that? Okay, guess what, Donnie? You're not one of them. You could be next. The next guy may not miss.
For self-preservation and making himself
Yes.
important. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
He's not a hero. He's a bully. He uses people.
And now he's
Now,
like, oh, maybe
he
I
will,
should.
if
do
he,
this.
he may find
Wow.
good reason for himself to withdraw.
Well, he would, and with all the pressure and stress he's been under with one indictment after another and found guilty and $89 million for this or that, he just might be fed up. This might be the, I
he might
doubt
just
it.
get on
I
his plane
doubt
and
it,
fly.
but I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
That
As I
again?
say, he might just get on his plane and fly someplace else.
Yeah, he might.
Tony, I've
I
got
mean,
the reverse,
he's not welcome in New York.
No.
I think Trump is gonna use that iconic photo with his fist pumped in the air.
That's
as
what they're
a, like,
But
saying.
look at the expression
campaign
on his
all the way
face.
to
Look at the
2024.
expression. Yeah. But look at the expressions on his face in those pictures. Yeah, he's got his fist up. And he's mouthing fight, fight, fight.
He was lucky to be alive by an
And
idiot.
also, he wouldn't be able to take a defeat. His ego would not be able to take it.
No.
So to avoid having, I think Biden's going to win or whoever's going to run, that's my sense. But you're right. On that level, he would not be able to egoically handle a public defeat or a worldwide defeat on that level.
Yeah. So I'm not saying he's going to. I'm not saying that the odds are that he will. I'm saying that there's a possibility that he just might find a good enough reason for himself.
It's all for himself.
To bow out.
And then he wouldn't have to save face if he were to lose.
Then
Then
it's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not a target anymore. Don't blame me. I'm out of here. Yeah, so,
just
but it
find
will be interesting to see what happens.
It will be.
Most interesting.
Yeah, very interesting point of view.
Okay, so where's the next chart? Yeah,
Have a note
here's
on
something
Eris
that,
conjunct Chiron
Okay.
from Astromatrix. Eris conjunct Chiron meaning Eris conjunct Chiron represent a powerful and transformative connection between the energies of disruption and healing, and invites you to reflect on the profound impact this aspect can have on various aspects of your life. So that energy should characterize the Republican convention, right? Eris
well, one would hope it would, but
transit.
um,
I don't know.
it depends, because while there is, I mean, the Trumpists are a large group. The majority of Republicans are not true Trumpists. They're Republicans, and they will, they vote Republican
Right, that's a good point.
because you're the Republican candidate, not
One way to
because
look
they
at it is the
agree with
disruption
everything.
of yesterday's events might bring
It's-
about healing and unify the Republican Party.
But
That's
it's not,
speculating.
when you talk about healing, you have to be careful here because Chiron is wounded. He's never healed. It's a continuous, arduous, difficult, challenging process to be influenced by Chiron because it's a continual state of trying to get healed. It's not really that much fun. So I
Right.
don't ever see it as I
This is
don't
just
really see
a transiting aspect for the Republican National Convention.
It,
I know. I'm just saying it.
it's yeah,
I
but
don't-
but what it could mean is then that the same people in the Republican Party decide to take over and say, enough of this stuff. We are tired of this crap. We're
No,
not going to do this anymore.
I don't
And
know.
all of a sudden, the influence of this extremist group suddenly becomes challenged. And the true Republican Party, it could be an awakening moment for the true Republican Party. Maybe that's what it means.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
because
That sounds, that's more, yes.
So
That's an
let's-
interesting, yeah. Do
Yes.
you think, some of you think that there are Republicans who are really not for Trump? This is pretty obvious in a way,
yes,
but pretend they are because they know of retaliation.
Yeah.
So they just kind of pretend, go along, and
right.
who would
Yeah, oh, yeah.
happen? What cares about the United States? At least I won't be attacked by Trump.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
maybe this is what they're waiting for. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Republicans that are Republicans, and they don't agree with all it. They agree with some of it, but not all of the extremist stuff.
But they have
Um,
to.
and then you've
Republicans-
got other Republicans. Look at the guys. Look at the people that ran against Trump during the Republican primaries in 2016.
There are a lot.
They called him all kinds of names. And every one of them is kissing his butt since then.
That's right.
They're just sucking at that Trump Kool-Aid trough.
Yep.
So
Oh,
They
you
Well,
just said
They
the
don't want to
Trump-
get on
yeah,
his
the-
bad side.
yeah,
I didn't
this
hear you
could-
say Kool-Aid.
This could be the oh my God, the king has no clothes moment.
Wow.
Oops. Never mind. Okay, here we go. All right, here's something that just as an aside. Okay, so here we go. So again, this is the Republican National Convention kickoff, 12:45 tomorrow. I only put the south node in here. So the nodes are at 9, south node's at 9 Libra, north node's going to be over here at 9 Aries, because Makemake is conjunct the south node. Now, the south node karmically, symbolically represents the past, things that were. Makemake is at 9 Libra, and the Sabian symbol is 3 old masters hanging in an art gallery. This too suggests that there could be a movement within the Republican Party at the convention to try to get the party back to where it was a sane conservative party, as opposed to an insane ultra conservative hodgepodge of disenfranchised, unhappy white Christian people. Sorry,
Mhm, mhm.
just saying.
Just saying.
So yeah, folks, it's going to be interesting. One way or the other, however it shakes out, it's going to be interesting. Notice now, and here, over here we have Bellona, which is the Roman equivalent of Eris at 26 Gemini, semi-sextile, the Mars-Uranus conjunction, and sextiling Trump's natal Mars at 26 Leo. So all the players are here, and you can see it gets pretty busy. And you try to follow the lines, it's going to be chaos. But look at the things that are like at 25, 26. 26. Here's the sun at 23 Cancer. So the sun will be at 26 by the time the conference ends. Blackman's at 28 Virgo. That can go either way with how you look at her. The asteroid Lilith at 25 Scorpio, opposing the Mars Uranus. There's also the story that's come up again about Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein back in the 90s, and supposedly being at Epstein's place in New York and participating with Epstein in raping a couple of very young girls, like 12 and 13-year-old girls, one of whom seems to have vanished. One of whom apparently, and someone from that point in time supposedly, remembers hearing Trump threatening the girls if they were to do or say anything, and saying, I can have you killed.
Wow.
Literally using those words.
I just saw a picture of him with that dude just yesterday in one of the, somewhere it came up. They're bringing it up again.
Yep. So all this, there's a lot of, sorry, Donnie, but you got so much stuff in your wood pile in your closet that,
Is that 26 degrees Algol, Mars, and Uranus?
Yep.
I just found this thing right here describing this Mars conjunct Uranus and Algol, a cosmic call to embrace change and courage. And it goes from astrologyhouse.com.au.
That's from Australia. Yeah. That's a polite, I think, a new age way of putting it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some new age descriptions there.
Yeah. These are old gods and goddesses, and these are old deities that,
warriors
on a cosmic scale, perhaps, but also on a cosmic scale, it could be something much more violent than that.
Much more.
Especially on a person, and on a personal note, it could be much more cosmic, much more violent than that, in the sense that, we're talking 26 to 26 to 20, 3 lined up at 26 to his Mars at 26, and we're looking at a third quarter crisis of consciousness square.
Yeah, it says, don't lose your head. Mars conjunct Uranus and Algol, don't lose your head. The cosmos is stirring with intense energy as Mars conjuncts Uranus and Algol this week, July 15th. And so,
Right. And the Chinese, I don't remember what the name, they had a name for Algol as well, something different, but the translation of the name of the Chinese name for the star is a pile of headless corpses or something to that effect. But yeah, it's basically about Yeah. Algol Medusa is about losing your head because that's what happened to her. Perseus cut off her head.
So this is for tomorrow?
Yeah.
This is the what was it? What was going on when he was shot at? What was that called?
Let's see. Hang on.
That wasn't a
Okay,
convention. It was
let me zip. So there's this chart. Here's another one. Where are we going? Am I going backwards? Which way am I going? I don't even know which way I'm going anymore.
What
Here's
was your
Trump's
question,
chart.
Dave?
Hang on.
was yesterday
Here's
just
Biden's chart.
It was
I'm just going to zip through. It's almost 3 o'clock. So
Yeah.
I'm going to zip through this and I'm going to do something else here. So here's Trump's chart again with just the 8 points to make it a little easier. Biden's chart with the 8 points. Here's a Biden-Trump bywheel for you to look at. Here's Kamala Harris's with all the points. And here's a Trump-Harris bywheel with just the 8 points, I think. Yeah. Okay, so summary. So we all know how important Pluto is in our work. The question then is, what about the other new dwarf planets? Are or will they be as strong? I can't read. Basically, only your life experience with them can answer that question for you. Beyond the 10 traditional planets, and yes, Pluto is still included in this group, other bodies may add additional insights, flavor, or clarification to events or questions that may arise. But to understand yourself is to know them. If you haven't been using them or aren't sure how, start with one. Include it, interpret it. If you relate to it, use it. If not, set it aside. Go one at a time rather than trying to figure out all 4 asteroids or all 4 other points all at once. It's the best way to do it. And because if you try to integrate too many, you may get confused or it may become difficult to sort one from the other. But my suggestion is to get used to using those that work for you. For example, Spencer uses Pallas Athena a lot. It works for him. But he doesn't pay attention to the others. I haven't really used any of them. I look at them occasionally. I'm more apt to look at the Lilith conglomeration than anything else. But get used to it because there are more of these bodies coming. And what you want to do is look at the mythology of the name. Who was Eris? Who was Ceres? Who is Makemake? Who are these people? Who were they within mythology and legend? That can help you to get an idea of what they might be about. And then look at, as you place one in your chart, what house and sign is it in? Start with the house. The house is going to be more important because that's going to show you where in your life if it's impactful for you, it'll show where in your life it would be impactful.
Which house?
And then, like I say, just work gradually as you add or remove them from the chart. Don't try to throw in everything and then just sort it out. The 10, start adding in the other stuff. You work a lot with Chiron, so you got Chiron, you got the 10 planets, you got Chiron, and you got the nodes. That's 13 points. So now you add up one of the asteroids. Now you got 14. Where does it look at what was going on then? Maybe if you try to understand what it's kind of about, and then look at where it falls in your chart, and then where there's a significant event where it should have been active and in your life, and then say, well, was it? And if it was, now you got something to work from. And just kind of work your way through them that way. Here's a reference listing of some of the books that I have. There's the rulership book by Rex Bills, which covers the planets, the houses, and the signs. Just the 10 planets and the 12 houses and the 12 signs. But it's huge lists of things that fall within their domain. There's some books by Emma Bell Donath, Asteroids in the Birth Chart, Asteroids in Midpoints, and Asteroids in Synastry. And she focuses on the 4 primary goddess asteroids: Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, Juno. There's the asteroid goddesses, the mythology, psychology, and astrology by Demetra George and Douglas Block. There's another little more obscure one, Sinister Ladies of Mystery, Dark Asteroids of Earth, Ted George and Barbara Parker. They bring in some other asteroids. And there's 3 books that deal with asteroids. They're limited information, but they give you a little bit about some of the different asteroids. And these are older books, so their listing is dated. Here's a bunch of websites that you might find helpful. I encourage you to, search, Google, Bing, whatever you want to, however you want to do it, and look at different sources to see what they have to say about something. And then formulate, which, you can buy one or meld them together, however, whatever seems to work for you. Because remember, ultimately, they're all playing at the same time. There may be something that stands out as a focus point, like the Mars-Uranus conjunction, but it's not operating independently because everything else is still there going on at the same time. Like I said, next month we're talking about the Republican and Democratic National Conventions, probably. September, the thought is we'd look at the 12 houses and the different house systems. October, maybe the signs, but we'll look at their history and mythology of the 12 signs because we haven't really done that. November, the election results. And who knows,
Oh my
it could be a
God.
crapshoot.
It makes it look really
December,
close
outlook for
now.
25. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Thank you. Take care. Be safe. All that other fun stuff.
Thank
Hang
you.
on. The request was you're looking for a chart for, what was it? I got to replace those. What was it? It was about the assassination attempt. Was that what we were talking about? But we were looking for the other points, right? So here's go right. Okay. All right, and now let me share this. You're probably not seeing this, are you? Here we go. Here we go. Oh, almost everybody's gone. There's just us diehards left. Okay, here we go. Hang on. Here. Share. Okay, was this what you wanted to see, Wave?
Yeah.
This was the chart for the shooting with
No,
the astro.
I was just getting confused for a minute. It happens.
Okay.
It was a rally that he was shot at. Tomorrow is the convention. I was just
Yes, he was.
wanting
This
to-
is from the rally. This is when he was shot.
It was a rally. Now that you brought up this possibility, I am fascinated to see what's going to happen next.
I know, me too.
If I'm right, then you heard it here first.
That's
What can I
right.
say?
We will
And if
give
I'm
you
wrong, it's
credit.
like, well, I'd only said it's a possibility. Then it was going to happen.
We'll
But
give you
yeah,
credit.
it is an interesting. Okay, I'll stop this. Enough of this. There we go. It is interesting, and it's going to be quite intriguing because I'm also keep in mind what happened in '68 when the Democratic convention was in Chicago and the country was in turmoil because of Vietnam.
Mhm.
It's similar, different but similar. And remember, '68 was like within a year or two after the exact Pluto-Uranus conjunctions.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. And now with Uranus getting ready to step into Gemini and Pluto moving into Aquarius, they're moving into that Uranus trine Pluto coming up.
Mhm.
So, okay,
This is
ladies.
just, this is just a funny thought. It's not anything earth shaking, but you're talking about these different names of these different asteroids. Is that what you're saying? Yes. So every once in a while I'll watch an old Frasier sitcom.
Mhm.
And, you know, Niles is the younger brother. His former wife is Lilith.
Mhm.
They portray her just as if she was this terrible planet, Lilith, this dark, and they always put her in black, and it's just really funny when you think about it. And I'm
Yeah,
sure there's a lot of other
stereotypes.
stereotypes. Yes, I'm sure there's
Yep,
lots of
exactly.
others.
Well,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you,
Thank you
Rita
so
and
much,
Wade,
Tim,
for
for all your
holding
work.
Thank you
on.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Nice to work with you.
Thank
Wade.
you.
Take
Okay.
care, ladies.
Yes.
Keep
Okay
cool.
then.
Keep
Bye-bye. See you
cool.
next time.
Bye for
Bye.
now. Stop that video and say goodbye.